Okay, because I saw a graphic on CNN this morning that said a little over 900, but now we are over 1,000. We have, as you mentioned, over 66,000 people that have been affected at one way or another with this virus. So while all this stuff is going on, right, and obviously this is an extremely serious situation. While all this stuff is going on, we have some idiots out there that are mocking the virus. And I'm not talking about some of the Republicans. I'm not talking about politics. I'm talking about just regular, everyday people that are not politicians. I don't know what their political affiliation is, and frankly, I don't care. A story coming out that a woman purposely coughed on $35,000 worth of food at a Pennsylvania grocery store. They're saying that she likely faces criminal charges for coughing, one of the primary ways, of course, that you can contract the coronavirus. The unnamed woman, they're saying, entered this small grocery chain called Jerry's Supermarket. Apparently, it's in Pennsylvania. And she started coughing on the produce. That's not all. Then she went to the bakery section. She started intentionally coughing on some of the donuts and some of the other stuff. It's not funny. It's just, the reason why I'm chuckling is because it's so ridiculous. She's such a moron. And then she choked on some of the meat and the merchandise. This is according to co-owner Joe Fasula. He wrote this out on Facebook. So then staff quickly removed her, thank God, from the store, called the police. They found her a few hours later, took her into custody. The woman intentionally contaminated the food. According to the police, they plan to file criminal charges against her once her mental health treatment concludes. Listen, if you walk into a supermarket or anywhere and you intentionally cough on somebody in the times that we are living in today, even if it's not the coronavirus times, there's something mentally wrong with you. You're deranged. But this woman was taken into custody. Listen, I think she should go to jail for a while.
Yeah, she's a criminal, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think she should go to jail.
Is she positive for the coronavirus?
They're saying she is not, thank God.
Okay.
If she was positive for the coronavirus, it's the same thing as if you have AIDS and you know you have AIDS, and you're intentionally trying to give other people AIDS and having sex with them. It's the same thing. I mean, to me, that's murder. That's murder. If she had the virus. But even if you don't have the virus, police have the right to arrest you and file charges.
And I've actually seen a lot of videos online of different people doing things like that. I saw a guy in an elevator who was, he put his hands down his pants and he took his hand and he put it in his mouth and then he rubbed it all over the buttons on an elevator. I saw a woman wipe her snot all over a park bench. I mean, there's been a lot of nasty things like this that have taken place, and hopefully it stops very soon.
So the owner of the store said, I'm absolutely sick to my stomach about the loss of food. And to me, this is what's really sad, is that in a time when people are in need, certainly there are food banks out there and there are ways that people can be helped. $35,000 worth of food. Do you know how much food that is? That's incredible.
Well, is it really a loss if she's not positive for the virus, though?
You cannot serve food. There are health codes. You cannot serve food.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, but you cannot serve food to somebody after somebody coughs on them. You can't. You just can't do that. And it's a precautionary
I'm sure
measure.
I've been in a grocery store at some point in my life and I've sneezed or I've coughed. It wasn't on purpose.
That might be possible, but that's a health code violation. You cannot serve that food, and I don't blame them for throwing it away. $35,000 worth of food. Still not clear, though, what the charges this woman will be facing or whether she is going to be getting some mental health treatment. I would imagine she will, but on yesterday, the Department of Justice confirmed that people who intentionally spread the virus could be charged with terrorism. It could be a terror. You know how serious that is?
It's bioterrorism at that point.
Yeah.
If you know that you have the virus and you're trying to spread it in public places where people, when they're not at home, they're going to get the things that they need to live their life, it should be bioterrorism, in my opinion.
Forget about whether or not they have the coronavirus or not. People need fresh produce right now. They need groceries. They had this one store had to throw out at a time like this, throw out $35,000 worth of fruit and vegetables. That alone, I don't care if this woman has the coronavirus. That alone should be a crime.
But it doesn't end there, folks. It doesn't end there, because now we have a internet sensation who decided to put his tongue on a toilet seat, and now he has the coronavirus. Stein, what can you tell us about this story?
See, the millennial thinks it's funny. This must be a sense of humor that you and I, Brian, we're a little older than JD. We must not get this sense of humor.
No, it's just the irony of the situation that I find.
California social media prankster who calls himself Lars. Have you heard of this guy?
Never have, no.
Is he a member of Metallica?
No, it's not Lars Ulrich.
Okay.
He goes by the name of Lars. Just days after posting a video of himself licking a toilet bowl in an online challenge that's been going around? Well, he's been hospitalized with the coronavirus. The TikTok personality reportedly posted the footage of himself in a hospital bed. I tested positive for coronavirus, the 21-year-old from Beverly Hills tweeted. And by the way, he has since been his account has since been suspended. It comes days after the prankster who goes. It comes 2 days after a prankster who goes by the social media handle Gay Shawn Mendes posted a video of himself on Friday running his tongue across a public toilet as part of a bizarre and widely criticized coronavirus challenge. And then I also, guys, saw there was somebody online, another one of these millennial idiots, who licked a row of deodorant in a drugstore, like a Walgreens or something.
These people need to not get probation. Don't give them a fine. Minimum 6 months in jail. If you're dumb enough to do something like this and you put people in harm's way, you need to go to jail.
And especially if the food or whatever they're trying to contaminate is not usable, they better pay back the grocery stores or.
Or I think
a
good punishment for this guy would be, JD, after you go number 2, make this guy lick the toilet seat. That would be a good punishment. I believe.
Lars has a history of doing this. Apparently, the social media influencer has appeared on the Dr. Phil show, where he drew criticism for boasting about how he had licked tubs of ice cream before putting them back in store freezers. He has claimed he has made lots of money from his online following.
What a moron. Oh, my goodness. Don't feel sorry for him at all. Don't feel sorry for him at all, in the least. And now, Kathy Griffin is back in the news. If you recall, several years back, when Donald Trump, I believe it was right after he won the election, Kathy Griffin showed a fake severed head of Donald Trump. She held it up, and it really, I'm going to say it ruined her career. It really did, because she was very popular at that
as
time.
it should have.
And it was inappropriate. She's apologized for it, but she's been openly criticizing Donald Trump for many years, and now she's back at it again. She checked herself into a hospital. She said she had unbearable, painful symptoms, and now she's speaking against Donald Trump's response to the coronavirus tweet. In a coronavirus tweet, Griffin accused Trump of lying about how many coronavirus tests the United States has performed amid the ongoing pandemic. She said, "I was sent to the isolation ward, the COVID-19 isolation ward room in a major hospital, ER, from a separate urgent care facility." She tweeted this out on Wednesday. She went on to criticize the vice president's leadership of the White House coronavirus task force. She said the hospital couldn't test me for coronavirus. So I understand her frustration. I mean, she's had some pretty bad symptoms, she claims, fever, sweats, and she checked herself into a hospital. And even a celebrity, and she still is a celebrity, even somebody like Kathy Griffin cannot be tested for the coronavirus. I mean, I heard an interview yesterday on Cuomo on CNN where he was interviewing a senator, and she was tested for the coronavirus, but they told her it could be between 2 and 10 days before they give a result. This is a senator. And now Kathy Griffin's in the hospital, someone who has money, someone who's a celebrity, maybe not an A-lister anymore, but a celebrity, and they refuse to test her even though she has all the symptoms. And I understand she's not 50, 60 years old. She probably doesn't have, and I'm assuming this, doesn't have any underlying health problems. But what do you guys make of this story? Because now she's going out and calling the president a liar, putting forth her frustration to the administration and the vice president. Probably not a good idea for her to do that now, considering the fact that she's trying to get some help and she's trying to get tested. But with that being said, what do you guys make of this story?
Well, I think that the United States has actually tested a lot of people, especially in New York State. There's a reason why there's 70,000 almost confirmed cases, and in Nevada we've got 404 cases now, and there's been 5,000 tested. So the numbers are actually coming out that about 90% of those who are tested don't actually have the coronavirus, and the testing has been certainly ramped up the last couple of weeks, and it'll keep improving, especially with the new testing kits that are being created by all these different companies.
I think there's no scarier sight than Kathy Griffin without makeup.
Well, I did see a picture. She is whiter than I am, and that's difficult. But she said he's lying. I was sent to the isolation ward room in a major hospital ER from a separate urgent care facility after showing unbearably painful symptoms. The hospital couldn't test me for the coronavirus because the CDC, the Pence Task Force, restrictions. And then she goes, #test. I understand her frustration. Obviously, we're living in times right now in a perfect world or a perfect country for that matter, where if you have symptoms, it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what your underlying conditions are. You should be tested. there's certainly no excuse for that. This country was not prepared
Well,
for it,
if you have severe symptoms like a fever,
which she has.
like legitimate shortness of breath to the point where she needs to be on a ventilator. I mean, to get tested in this country right now, you have to have severe symptoms, or they're gonna send you home and they're gonna say self-isolate for 14 days.
Which shouldn't be the case, and that's my point. We should have been prepared for this. In the richest country in the world, we should have been prepared for a pandemic like this. And clearly, no matter who you want to put the blame on, no matter what political side of the aisle you're on, we all need to agree that this country was not prepared for this. The proof is in the pudding here. And I'm not even bringing up the administration. I'm just saying in general terms, this country was not prepared for this type of pandemic. And as I mentioned to start the show, yes, people are dying. People are scared. People are worried. You know, where are you going to get their next paycheck from? And it's one thing that this country loves. It's sports. You know, sports is kind of like a gateway drug to an extent. It kind of keeps you, I guess, involved in other things. Get your mind off maybe some of the tough things that are going on in your life.
On the positive side of the coronavirus, so people being infected with the coronavirus in sports, UNLV's own Christian Wood is now overcome the virus. He's recovered fully, as has New Orleans Saints head coach Sean Payton. So a couple of athletes who were confirmed coronavirus positive are now negative, and they've recovered from the virus.
So the reason why I brought up sports, and the reason why I was bringing that up again, because it's kind of crazy. As I mentioned, today was supposed to be, you know, opening day for Major League Baseball, and you know, being a college basketball junkie, today was supposed to be the Sweet 16. And last night, I'm hanging out at a friend's house, and we're thinking to each other, gosh, there's nothing to bet on. You know, we haven't gambled on anything. Nobody can bet on anything, really, right? So we go to 7-Eleven, and I look at my William Hill phone app, and I notice to myself, you can bet on ping pong, also known as table tennis. That's right. So I deposited
Just to be clear, Brian, when you say friend, you mean Chris Wynn.
Yes, that's what we're talking about. So I deposited $100 in my William Hill account for purely entertainment value only. And I bet on some ping pong matches last night. And here's the great part about it. We watched the matches live. We were watching table tennis live. We had to download some sort of app. It was, I think it was called the TT Cup. I don't Table Tennis Cup. I don't know. Setco Cup, something like that. So we're watching these people from the Ukraine, these older guys from the Ukraine who look like they're from a scene of that show To Catch a Predator. We're watching these weirdos wearing their nut huggers, playing table tennis, wearing the headbands, and I'm telling you, it was strange. It was odd. And the whole time we're watching the table tennis, you know the person that keeps score? There's the judge. She was unbelievably hot. So me and Chris were just staring at her throughout the whole match, not even paying attention to the match. And we're watching these middle-aged weirdos playing table tennis, and we're betting on these matches. I am very happy to say I won $40 last night. I think I might start my own sports handicapping toting service, table tennis picks. I might do that.
How's that compare with sumo wrestling? You did sumo wrestling last week.
So here's the problem with sumo wrestling. Besides the fact that you're looking at, for the most part, naked 300-pound men. If that's not bad enough, that's funny. But after a while, it gets disgusting.
300. Come on, you mean 400, 500, 600.
So the weird part about that is they do all these rituals before the match starts, and these matches literally last 3 or 4 seconds. You know, they last about the same amount of time that an orgasm would last. I mean, that's what these matches are lasting here. And when you look at a table tennis match, you got a good 15 or 20 minutes of action. It's kind of fun. It's more enjoyable. Let me just put it that way.
You also understand it, though, Brian. I mean, you were one of the best table tennis players in the country in your age group for quite some time.
I was a very good table tennis player back in the day.
You were a national champion, from what I understand.
But let me tell you something, okay? When you're watching these Ukrainian professional table tennis players that are probably making $20,000 a year, and you're telling me there are betting lines up there, I am very skeptical. And I would say that some of these professional middle-aged Ukrainian ping pong players might be taking book. That's all I'm saying.
So could you compete against these guys based on what you saw right now?
I'll be honest with you. These guys were not the top 20, 30 players in the world. Their rankings were top 200. I could have competed against them. They would have beaten me just because I'm not in ping pong form right now. I'm not in ping pong shape. But
so like, what are the standard specifications required to be in quote unquote ping pong shape, Brian?
Well, first of all, you have to have really good eye-hand coordination.
Well, you have that.
You can't be 300.
You can't really lose that though.
You can't look like a sumo wrestler and expect to be a very good table tennis player.
I feel like you need torque, right? You got to because you
not
torque,
really.
So you got to
no. No.
to strengthen your side muscles
No.
and your abs?
No, that's not
You
true.
don't need that at
No,
all?
no, you don't need that. What you do need is fantastic eye-hand coordination and very good reflexes. And I think that's the main thing. You have to be in decent shape. I don't think you have to be in as good a shape as say, a Novak Djokovic on the tennis court, but you have to be in pretty good shape. And when you look at the professional table tennis players of the last 30 or 40 years, the top players in the world are all in pretty good shape. I mean, it's regardless of what some people might think, we're not talking about basement ping pong. We're actually talking about professionals, and it's incredible. They really are incredible. These guys, they didn't look very incredible. They didn't look that great, but I'm betting matches on table tennis and sumo wrestling over the course of the last week. That's incredible in itself.
Yeah, that's actually very, very interesting. So what was your process for handicapping this table tennis match? When you decided to put money on person A or person B?
Very simply put, their head-to-head matchup.
That's really it?
Their head-to-head, yeah. That's it. I don't know anything about these guys. Obviously, I don't follow the professional Ukrainian table tennis circuit. Forgive me for not being that knowledgeable, but no, just a quick look up. Here's the crazy part. There's literally nobody in there. You have these two middle-aged men that are playing ping pong against each other. You got this hot chick, and I'm talking she was smoking hot, right? I'm talking Tommy Lauren hot, right? She was smoking hot, and I see she's taking the score, and I'm thinking to myself, how are these two guys even concentrating? That's how hot she was. I'm thinking to myself, how are they doing it?
Was it empty in there because no one gives a damn about two middle-aged Ukrainian men playing
Well, it wasn't
table tennis, or was it because of the coronavirus and they couldn't have crowds?
It was because of the coronavirus. Apparently, the SEPCA Table Tennis Ukrainian Cup is a big tournament. I mean, I don't know. I guess it is.
Normally it is.
Yeah, normally it is. But there's going to be more matches tonight. So mark my words, my friend. I'm going to be on no sleep. I'm going to be betting on table tennis all night tonight in the middle of the night at Chris Wynn's disgusting house. All night tonight, I'm going to be betting on table tennis. And they have in-game wagering.
Damn this virus.
You can bet in-game wagering on these professional table tennis matches. Listen, this is serious stuff. I'm going to try to send a ping pong ball for one of these guys to sign for me if they win me some money tonight. But yes, I'm up $40, which is great because in this day and age where you're getting a lot of pizza deliveries and a lot of food deliveries, that's a couple meals for me, thanks to the Ukrainian Table Tennis Association. So I want to thank them for that. And I am very hopeful that the judge for the matches tonight does not look like you, Stein. I hope that it's the same woman that is there doing the matches. It was actually fun to watch.
Okay, here's my advice: just don't get carried away. I mean, don't become don't become addicted to betting on table tennis because you could easily you're depressed right now. You could easily go downhill very quickly.
Speak for yourself,
with this.
man. I'm not depressed. Speak for
I would
yourself.
imagine they max your bets out. You can't get too aggressive with it.
I wonder what the maximum bet is to play on a Ukrainian table.
They don't want a huge Ukrainian table tennis handle.
All right, that's enough. That's enough table tennis for the morning. I think we've covered table tennis enough. Coming up next, we'll be speaking with David C. Unger. He is a teacher and author, an American who is basically trapped in Italy. He's going to be calling us live from Italy. Coming up next on the Vegas Take, right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDON. We'll be back right after this.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, over-designed, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. Get a Harry starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover. All for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter 6655 at checkout. That's harrys.com, code 6655. Enjoy.
Coronavirus has brought significant disruption to daily life here in Las Vegas, and we here at KDON want you to stay safe, but at the same time, we want you to help these local businesses in our communities thrive. At KDON, we've set up Operation Gift Card to help local restaurants, bars, and businesses who offer gift cards on their websites. To find out how to purchase gift cards from these great businesses and more, visit our website at kdwn.com and search Operation Gift Card. Remember, we are all in this together.
Special report coronavirus update. Americans will get money from the federal government in 3 weeks. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin telling CNBC the $2.2 trillion package will help.
I would hope that the House passes this unanimously. I've already reached out to the Speaker and to Kevin McCarthy on the sense of urgency. The American workers and American public and American business, they need the money now.
The Senate passed the relief bill early this morning. The House will vote tomorrow. New York Governor Cuomo says no matter what they do to limit the spread, the virus is overwhelming health care.
You cannot get the curve down low enough so that you don't overwhelm the hospital capacity.
3.3 million Americans filed first-time unemployment, a breathtaking number showing just how quickly social distancing has displaced American workers from their jobs. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads from the Lerner Road Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by Dell. The crash reported on the 215 Southern Beltway eastbound at Eastern Avenue. Vehicles remain off to the right, should be near the clearing stage. Meanwhile, police are conducting a hit-and-run accident investigation at Grand Canyon Drive. At Sky Canyon Park Drive, watch for police presence. And a crash reported on Eastern at Pebble Road. Dell Small Business Technology Advisors offer advice, one-on-one partnership, and tailored tech solutions like computers with Intel Core processors. Call an advisor today, 877-BY-DELL. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit beefy, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-590-7516. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-590-7516. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-590-7516. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-590-7516. 800-590-7516.
1015 FM, 720 AM. KDON, the talk of Las Vegas. Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 1015 FM, 720 AM. KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us live on a Thursday. Don't worry, we'll take your phone calls coming up in hour number 2, and we'll be talking a little bit about why Dr. Fauci and Donald Trump seem to be on different ends of the spectrum, certainly when it comes to a time frame of when things are going to clear up or open up in this country. We'll get back to that coming up in hour number 2. But the guy joining us on the line right now he's in Italy. He's a teacher and an author. And as you know, Italy is the worst right now, the worst country in the world right now when it comes to deaths and the coronavirus and a lot of difficult issues that country is facing. His name is David C. Unger, and he joins us right now on the line. David, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Doing good, David.
Doing great, David.
How long have you been in Italy since? Have you been there since the start of this virus broke out?
I've been in Italy since September of 2007.
So you've been there a long, long time. So as an American, so you're a teacher and an author. So as an American, is it scary to you, even though you've been there since 2007, is it scary to you that, even if you wanted to leave the country right now, you couldn't?
Well, my wife and I had to make a decision whether we were safer staying in place or making a run through trains, airport quarantines at both ends. And since we don't own a house in the U.S., hotels and other things like that, we decided that we'd be better off staying here. We're comfortable here. We're reasonably safe here. Like everyone else in the world, we're a little anxious about what's going on, but this seems our safest option for now.
So you've been there since 2007, so you've been there for 13 years. The obvious statement would be why there's so many deaths in Italy. Well, there's a lot of people that are maybe elderly more than some other countries. Would you agree with that? And what is your explanation in your experience in living there? Why is Italy having so many issues with this virus more than many other countries across the world?
What I honestly think is because we got a head start. I'm looking at the numbers in the U.S. and Spain and places like that are catching up rapidly to where we were a week ago. So, yes, Italy has had a worse hit than China. China, as a totalitarian country, could clamp everything down in the ways a democratic country can't. There are hopeful signs now that we're at what's called the peak in Italy, which is to say the number of new cases is holding steady or dropping by the day. And that's called, flattening the curve, which would be good because the health system is stressed out in the worst hit areas of the country. And if it kept rising, it would be the same thing they're seeing in New York now, that the hospitals would be knocked out everywhere, not just for corona patients, but for all patients.
And so,
We might now be at the peak. We might be about 10 or 12 days ahead of where the U.S. is.
so are you in Lombardy, Bergamo, or where are you located specifically within Italy?
I'm located near Genoa, and the region here is called Liguria. It's not the worst hit region. It's, I think it's about, of the 20 regions of Italy, we're about fifth or sixth worst. But the difference is enormous. In places like Bergamo and Brescia and even Milan, you're talking about 1 in less than 1,000 people, 1 in 900, 1 in 800 people affected. Here, well, it's comparable to that here, so that's the wrong set of numbers, but it's much less. We have 2,000 cases here, okay, in a region with about 1 million people. That's 2,000 known and tested cases. Obviously, there are cases out there that they don't know about. Some estimate 5 times as many as the official number. But in this region, the impact, mercifully and so far, has been less than it's been in Lombardia and the Milan region.
So what you're saying is very scary. You're saying that you believe Italy is about 10 to 15 days ahead of where the U.S. is now. So does that mean you're expecting that the U.S. in a couple weeks will be where you guys are at right now? Is that what you would expect?
Sadly, or worse. The feeling here is that the draconian restrictions, the lockdown on movement in the whole country, which dates to March 10th, started showing in our figures. They started leveling off 10 days later, March 20th.
Wow. Is the country still on
26th.
Is the country still on lockdown?
Country has been on lockdown since March 10th. Whole country. This morning they raised the fines. They've got the army out enforcing it. They're being very, very strict. You can't do anything unless you sign a form with criminal penalties if you violate it, saying you absolutely have to go out of the house.
If you
go out
Gotcha.
for medical treatment or buying food, or just a very limited number of reasons, or you work in a place that stays open like a food store or a pharmacy.
Gotcha. If you're just joining us, we're speaking with David Unger. He is a teacher and author. He is in Italy right now. Obviously, he's an American. Scary times, certainly scary times for everybody, particularly, especially if you're living in Italy. I just want you to take us back. I mean, what happened when you learned of this lockdown? What was that like for you and your wife, and how the heck are you passing the time?
Okay. Well, it's a scary thing, and you could see it coming. We had the first case in Italy in late January, and there everybody thought, oh, well, these are people who went to China, and they've got it contained, so it'll just stay where it is. And then in late February, it broke out. It broke out in the areas of Lombardia and the neighboring province, which is called Emilia. And they barricaded about 12 towns. And then, again, people thought they'd contained it. They barricaded those towns. I want to emphasize that when Italy took the restrictions that it took in late February and early March, the feeling was they were being very strict. They were overreacting. They were being excessive. These were the strongest restrictions anywhere in the democratic world. And we thought, better safe than sorry, we should do that. And it turns out that they've had to ratchet it up 3 or 4 times. It wasn't adequate what they were doing. They were it took a while to close the schools. It took a while to ban travel between provinces. if you were traveling in a private car. And maybe it just took time politically for people to be able to accept tighter restrictions. If they'd done the whole thing all at once, there might have been more grumbling and resistance to it. But we did not, take a loose attitude toward this or ignore it. We took I'm saying Italy took what everyone felt, and rightly so, were very strong restrictions. The problem is they weren't strict enough and they weren't early enough. So we had this breakout. And now we may be getting that contained and to start march very slowly down the slope to where we can talk about when things might reopen again. It's not going to happen anytime very soon, as we talked about. So my wife and I could see it coming in late February after the explosion in the north. We started stockpiling food in the house, dried pasta, beans, canned, non-perishable stuff, and paper goods. So when the lockdown actually came 3 weeks ago, we didn't have to go out of the house for much shopping, and we're set now. Fortunately, we're both writers, and I'm a teacher, so there's plenty of books in the house. There's plenty to do. My life before this was always finding enough time to do my reading, writing, and research. That's not a problem anymore. Obviously, much of my day is spent looking at coronavirus news on the internet. That's another thing. The internet is a real answer to the isolation. It's not the same as being with people, but it allows you to be in touch with people, to see them, to video call them, FaceTime or Skype or whatever. And that's a big plus. So it's not the circumstances I would have chosen. And it's a beautiful spring. The beach is almost within sight of me. I'd love to be out there, but people have it much, much worse. People who still have to go to work, people who run more risk, the frontline people, the people who are the checkout people in the food stores, the medical personnel who are now getting sick in alarming numbers. They're the people it really goes out for, or the people who, one way or another, Italy is a family culture. At some innocent family gathering, someone was there who brought the contagion from somewhere, and some unfortunate, probably elderly relative, picked it up and is now fighting for their life in a hospital or a life in a hospital. So we're not into feeling sorry for ourselves. We're into feeling hunkered down, not happy about the situation, not knowing for sure where it's going to go and when, but realizing that there are people facing a lot greater risk than we're facing.
So you moved there in 2007. I would imagine you have a lot of friends in Italy. You've made a lot of friends in that time. Do you know anyone that has been adversely affected by this or that has died from this virus? And is it true that triage is taking place in some of the most hard-hit places in Italy?
First question is, no one I know has died or are in the hospital. You have to realize that as alarming as our figures are, yesterday there were 74,000 known infected people cumulatively. If you subtract the ones that have either been cured or died, there were 57,000. Population of the country is 60 million. All right, so that means that only 1 in 1,000 Italians is sick or known to be sick. So it's not that surprising when I tell you that no people we know. Then there's this town. This town lives on tourism, and obviously tourism is shut down and dead. But it's on the Mediterranean coast. It's not that easy to get to. There are a lot of second homes of people who live in the big cities, but they're not able to come here right now. So the locals who are in the town are somewhat isolated. It's a retirement community. They don't have to go to work. I'm not saying all of them, but we've been somewhat relatively sheltered from the storm, both this whole region of Genoa and Liguria and this particular town of Camoli has not had it as nearly as bad as some of the other places. When you say that, you have to say up to now.
Sure.
The new figures will be out in 20 minutes for today, and they could tell a different story.
Absolutely, and yeah, you're absolutely right. And we had we're over 1,000 deaths in this country. We just surpassed 1,000 in the last hour. If you're just joining us, we are speaking with David Unger. He's a teacher and author. obviously an American, but has been living in Italy since 2007, and he's joining us live from his home in Italy. So I want to ask you a little bit about the political response. You know, we've seen some videos online where some of these Italian mayors are yelling at people to stay home. Can you compare the political response in Italy to the response of Donald Trump? What can you tell us about that?
I'd rather not get into the American side. You're there. I'm not there. I know what I see on the internet and what I see on television. Let me talk about the Italian side. First of all, the governor of Liguria, a man by the name of Giovanni Totti, who he has really been a hero of protecting this area during the epidemic. What he did is he got out very, very, very early and saw that the crunch would come in intensive care facilities in the hospital, and that the numbers anticipated were more than we had. And he got out ahead of the government in Rome, making private orders, not private orders, but the local government's orders to foreign countries, and got what we needed and expanded our intensive care facilities so that if this is in fact the peak, we've made it. You asked me earlier about triage. Other areas have not made it. You know, Lombardia, Bergamo, and Brescia, and particularly Cremona, three towns well known perhaps to tourists who go to Italy, are quite possibly doing that triage. I mean, nobody wants to say it out loud, but what they're doing is you've got 90, 100 ICU beds. You've got 150 people who need them. You're deciding that this person who's 55 and has no underlying conditions will probably survive. That person over there who's 77, has diabetes, high blood pressure, and has had 2 heart attacks, probably won't. So under any normal circumstances, that second person would get the ICU bed and the Herculean effort to save them no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We can only speculate, you know, we can't document that people are being denied, but doctors in those hospitals up there are saying we're faced with that kind of decision.
No question. Yeah. Well, on a lighter note, Mr. Unger, I got to ask you a little bit about the food there in Italy. Can you tell me a little bit about where the places you visit there in Italy? And if I ever come out there to Italy, certainly it's not going to be anytime soon, I can tell you that. But if an American has never been to Italy before and they want to visit, where would you tell them to go? Where would you tell them to eat when all this stuff passes?
Well, you know, like America, it's a big country, and it's got many different regions with many different food cultures, many different reasons for going there. In our 13 years here, we've been to almost every corner of Italy and love them all in different kinds of ways. What we have here right outside my window is we're near the area known as Cinque Terre, the 5 towns, which are these sea-coast villages, fishing villages, that hang on hillsides. And this town, Camoli, is pretty much like that also. We've got the Mediterranean Sea. We've got fresh fish and seafood. We've got focaccia. We've got a wonderful local diet, wonderful local traditions, boat rides, whales, dolphins, anything you want to see. World-famous aquarium. The city of Genoa has the largest intact medieval quarter, if that's something that interests you. Then, you know, all Americans have heard of Tuscany, if only through movies and books. And Tuscany has Florence and all the great works of art there,
Mm-hmm.
and Pisa and the Leaning Tower.
Wow.
Bologna is the agribusiness capital, is the sort of Chicago, Kansas City food-producing region, because most of Italy is mountainous, and that you really, most of the food-producing area, it's like the Central Valley of California, except it's the valley of the Po River, which goes across from Turin through Milan, down through Bologna, out toward near Venice, where it hits the Adriatic Sea. So that's a different area. Then there's Venice. I don't have to tell you about Venice.
Right.
There's Rome, and you've heard of that.
What about the Venetian? I'm sorry, that was a horrible joke, Mr. Unger. that's about as close as I've ever been to Italy, David. To be honest with you, is the Venetian. That's it for me. Hey, we're up against a break, David. But let me just say this. Thoughts and prayers to everyone in Italy. We're glad that you and your wife are healthy and you guys are doing well. And I just want to thank you so much for joining us and kind of giving us a little bit of information of what that country has had to go through. Stay safe, David. We really appreciate you taking some time to join us, and maybe we can talk to you again a little bit more down the road, David. Thank you so much, and we really appreciate you. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks a lot, David.
That is David Unger, teacher and author. He's in Italy with his wife. Even if he wanted to leave the country, he couldn't. But we certainly appreciate him taking some time to join us. So we're going to take a quick break, and we will get back to your calls in 30 seconds. 702-257-5396. You're listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
A Home for Spot is a nonprofit group of dog lovers whose mission is to rescue, provide sanctuary, and ultimately to rehome abandoned, stray, and neglected dogs. To donate, foster, or adopt, go online to ahome4spots.com.
This is Lorraine Hunt Bono, inviting you to tune in for Breaking Bread with Bono. Join my husband, Dennis Bono, as celebrities share with him their intimate and humorous stories. Saturdays, 5 to 6 p.m., right here on KDAWN.
101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN, the talk of Las Vegas. Sean Hannity, weekdays noon to 3 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us on a Thursday. Coming up here, we're going to talk a little bit about how it appears to me, anyway, after I play this audio, that Dr. Fauci and Donald Trump are on opposite ends of the spectrum as far as when this thing is going to end. But I promised I would get to your calls. My understanding is we got a lot of people who have been waiting very patiently on hold. So let's get to those calls coming up next, and I believe we have Doug first up. Doug, thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Doug?
Hey, guys. A couple quick comments. For the guys on Facebook that are licking toilet bowls and whatnot, the flip side is you have people sending out, vultures out there trying to take people's money as well. You can always count on a crisis to bring out people's true colors.
No, you're right. I could not agree with you more. And it's a good point you just mentioned, because if you remember 9/11, I thought the country really came together. At least for a short time, they came together. And I always remember George W. Bush with that megaphone, at the site of the towers. I thought that was the best moment of his presidency. I don't know if we have any of those moments from Donald Trump. I'm sorry, I just don't think we do. I thought that was and listen, to be honest with you, Doug, I was never a big George W. Bush fan, but I thought that moment, and you remember, I think, what I'm talking about. He takes that megaphone, he says, "We hear you, the world hears you." I got goosebumps. I said, what a great moment for the president, showing some leadership. We need moments like that from Donald Trump.
And within 3 to 6 months, we were in a major war.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
The second comment was, when you were talking about, New York wasn't prepared, I don't think anyone ever can be prepared for this. I mean, Cuomo was on the other day saying they needed 30,000 ventilators.
I agree.
I mean, that's cost prohibitive. There's no way
Yeah,
New York could pay for that kind of money.
Right. We talked about it yesterday. Cuomo had the opportunity to purchase 15,000 plus ventilators. It would cost $570 million. So do the math, $300 million, even with a minor discount, you're talking about $800 million just for ventilators. That's for a state that has been, pretty much broke for quite some time. So yeah, I agree.
Well, here's why I disagree, and here's my answer. After this virus is done with, we will be prepared.
Oh, of course. Well, yeah.
So there's no excuse that we were not prepared before. So that
there's a giant stockpile that's being created in the stimulus bill as well.
And it should have been created a year ago. That's my point. 702.
No, it shouldn't.
Yes, it should have.
No, it shouldn't have.
So we shouldn't have been prepared for this?
Not to this degree. We did not expect this to happen. Absolutely.
Really? According to who?
Of course not.
We didn't expect this to happen?
Even David Unger, the last caller that we had, the first case in Italy was on January 19th. I think it was Iran on January 18th. On the 24th, WHO finally decided that the virus was transmittable human to human.
All right, so maybe
we were not ready for this. No country was ready for this, but you're right. This will not take place again. Every single country, especially the United States and United States allies, will absolutely be ready for this if it happens again.
Okay, we got to go back to our phone calls.
Absolutely.
So maybe you could just explain, I don't know if you'll be able to, but a year ago when the administration was spoken to about these issues from the experts and saying we were not ready for a pandemic. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Dwayne. Dwayne, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Dwayne?
Man, check this out. I was understanding that Joe Biden sexual assaulted somebody. I don't know that's not true. Because if Joe Biden was vice president with Obama, why did this person come out then?
We're going to talk about that, Dwayne, coming up later on in the program. So you feel free to call back when we bring up that subject, but we're not going to talk about it now.
No, it's like 11:40 probably.
702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Brady. Brady, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Brady?
Good morning, gentlemen. Hey, you guys fail to realize one person who's escaped all the blame is Barack Obama. He did not leave anything for the president. There was nothing he didn't learn from the Ebola virus, the H1N1. Why did he not have mass stockpiled when he handed over the presidency?
Are you so hold on, JD. Hold on, JD. Let me just address Brady here real quickly. At this time and the times that we are in, you want to blame Barack Obama for the situation. I just want to be clear on that. That is your phone call. You want to blame Barack Obama for the situation. And are you being serious or facetious?
He's just saying that there wasn't a stockpile created during the Obama presidency, which clearly there was not, except Apple. Apple somehow, for some miraculous reason, has 10 million N95 masks they just donated. Don't know how they have them. Don't know why they have them, but they do.
Let me be clear on this, Brady. There are some talk show hosts, I don't know who, but I would imagine there are probably some, where if you called into their show, they would say, you know what, Brady, that's a great point. I agree with you. You know what I'm going to say to you, Brady, in blaming Barack Obama for this virus? You are a dummy. You are a moron. And next time you call into the show, I'm not even going to give you 5 seconds. Yeah, bye-bye. Have a nice day. Have a nice day, dummy.
Hey, great call, Brady.
702-257-5396 is the number to call. I'm not even going to entertain calls like that. Let's go to Clyde. Clyde, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Clyde?
Okay, great show. First time listening to you. A little bit of tidbit. You know, I'm an adult, but in the 90s, I took creative writing courses under Dr. Unger at UNLV.
Really?
Yeah, he has, I tell you, the man is a phenomena. He's all connected with the Blue Mountain group, and he also helped bring writers who were in exile in their country over here to UNLV because he knew Maloff, the head of the Mandalay Bay.
And how many years ago was this, Clyde?
He said mid-90s.
I'm sorry. So next time he calls, go with that. The man is very humble. He was really the face of the cultural movement, poetry. And like I said, I took creative writing classes of him.
Oh, that's cool. Well, Clyde, I wish we knew that before. I would have asked him a few questions about that. But Clyde, I appreciate that information. You know,
he's a fountain of knowledge about many things.
No question.
Have a great day.
Thank you, Clyde. Good call, Clyde. And you're right. He was well spoken. He was long winded, and he could have definitely. We could have let him finish that hour and a half long history lesson about Italy. I would have taken it.
All right, I'm going to steal some of your thunder here, JD. You ready for this? Our next caller is Ron. Hey, what's up, Ron?
Hey.
How you doing, Ron?
How you guys doing today?
Doing okay.
JD answered my question yesterday, Brian, but I guess you were so pushed for time you couldn't get to my. I wanted your guys' opinion on this.
Sure.
And what I was thinking is what do you guys think if we can satisfy maybe both groups? Like if we can quarantine our own people inside our own states, except for truck drivers and people who need to go state to state, U.S. government, whatever, and then open up the economy so that we can work inside of our own states. What do you guys think about that? That way we get a little bit of both. And the people, we're pretty responsible. Brian's pointed that out, that some of us are quarantining ourselves when we're sick, which is kind of cool. And I wanted to hear what you guys would think about that.
No, I think that social distancing in an open workplace is very possible. I think that honestly, the decision by default we're going to have to do is by self-isolating those who are high-risk groups and letting everyone else because this virus. A lot of people who get the virus, the majority of people who get this virus, actually the super majority of people who get this virus have mild or no symptoms at all. And if they get the virus and they get over the virus, then they can't give it to someone else if another season of the virus comes, which is the concept of herd immunity. I think by default, because the virus is so far along and because we can't risk just imploding the economy and setting it back 20 years, that's what's going to take place. And yes, but it will be a matter of social distancing in the workplace because the place that the virus spreads the most is a small confined space. If you're in a small confined space with someone for 3 to 6 hours, you have a much higher chance of getting the virus than you do just walking past someone in the grocery store.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. I know there's a lot of people on hold. I promise you we will get to all your calls on the other side of the break. We're going to talk a little bit more about the national response. Dr. Fauci making some comments yesterday in regards to Donald Trump, who said that he wants things back to normal by Easter. And he also said he wanted large crowds in churches. Dr. Fauci was asked about that and you may or may not be surprised by his response. We're going to get to that coming up next. We'll also take more of your calls. 702-257-5396. Again, that number, if you want to be a part of the conversation, is 257-5396. We will take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to The Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
Your home for Sean Hannity. KDWN Las Vegas, KKLZ HD2 Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station.
Special report coronavirus update. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says the House will vote tomorrow on the $2.2 trillion relief bill, but she says more is needed to help hospitals and healthcare workers.
Testing. Mask. Ventilators. What's the mystery? We need many more.
Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin telling CNBC.
I would hope that the House passes this unanimously. I've already reached out to the Speaker and to Kevin McCarthy on the sense of urgency. The American workers and American public and American business, they need the money now.
Mexico's President Manuel Lopez Obrador is telling citizens not to return from the United States because he fears they'll spread the virus. The Navy says it'll test all those aboard the aircraft carrier Theodore Roosevelt after a number of soldiers on the ship tested positive for coronavirus. I'm Mike Moss. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo says he doesn't have the resources to meet the demands caused by coronavirus.
Almost any scenario that is realistic will overwhelm the capacity of the current healthcare system. So, little reality.
Infectious disease expert Dr. Celine Gounder says the country needs to advance its fight.
What you really want to do is get to the point where you see a peak in cases, you start to see the growth shrinking, not growing. And then you want eventually to get to the point where you don't have community transmission, where you're able to do contact tracing. And that means you can say this person got it from this person, got it from this person. And right now it is so prevalent in the community, it is impossible to do.
The head of the UN says we're at war with a virus and not winning it. On Wall Street, the Dow is up 5%. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Lerner and Rowe Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by Boost Mobile. Watch for slowing for a crash reported I-15 northbound at Cheyenne. Right now, no heavy delays, but that could change quickly. Also a crash in the Southern Valley. On the Southern Beltway eastbound at Eastern Avenue, watch for vehicles that are off to the right along with a highway unit. No heavy delays to report 15 southbound. It's a pretty easy drive between the Spaghetti Bowl and Tropicana. Step up with Boost Mobile and get a super reliable, super fast nationwide network perfect for the whole family. Switch to Boost Mobile. I'm John Michaels from the KDAWN Traffic Center.
Get the rest you deserve with Helix Sleep. Helix makes personalized mattresses to fit your unique body type and sleep preferences and give you the best sleep of your life. Go to helixsleep.com and get up to $200 off mattress orders. Travis Scribner, managing partner of Westpac Wealth Partners, interviews some of the most successful business owners for insight into what makes both them and their business run. Tune in every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN, or podcasts on iTunes.
We've always had villains to face.
But you are the most horrible of all. We all have the power to do something.
To stand up to cancer.
Stand up to fight. Stand up to win. Visit standuptocancer.org to learn more.
The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group. Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us on a Thursday. A lot to get to the next hour or so. I want to talk a little bit about the national response. Donald Trump, Dr. Fauci, doesn't seem like they're on the same side when it comes to the coronavirus. And this is distracting because I have my producer that's eating an apple right now, and I can hear it through the microphone. And my co-host is taking a crap right now in my apartment, using up all the toilet paper that I have. At the same time, I'm trying to do a radio show. So it's a little distracting. But, you know, I'll get through it, folks. I'm a professional. Don't worry. I might be out of toilet paper, but I'll get through it.
You got to live your life, Brian.
Yeah, I know. I'll try to get through it.
Not gonna
Anyway.
let this coronavirus stop me from eating my apples.
So speaking of Donald Trump, if you recall yesterday, he was asked a little bit of a timeline. And I want you to listen to his response. This is Donald Trump in his own words in the press conference yesterday, saying basically that he wants things back to normal by Easter. Have a listen to this.
When everything was doing. Who suggested I just thought it was a beautiful time. To be a beautiful time, a beautiful timeline. So that was it's a great day. The data. It was based on a certain level of weeks from the time we started, and it happened to arrive. Actually, we were thinking in terms of sooner. I'd love to see it come even sooner, but I just think it would be a beautiful timeline. John?
So there you go. He says that Easter would be a beautiful time, and that's the president's timeline. Well, guess what? Dr. Fauci was asked about that timeline on CNN last night with Chris Cuomo. Listen to his response.
What you've got to do, Chris, you've got to be realistic, and you've got to understand that you don't make the timeline. The virus makes the timeline. So you've got to respond in what you see happen. And if you keep seeing this acceleration, it doesn't matter what you say 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you've got to go with what the situation on the ground is. So when people say it may take months, I think what people are talking about is how long it takes to go all the way down. But you may see in a relatively shorter period of time when you're seeing the inkling of the flattening and coming down. But, you know, you can't make an arbitrary decision until you see what you're dealing with. You need the data.
You can't make an arbitrary decision until you see what's happening on the ground. You need the data. He also said, and I think this was very telling, when he said, in his own words, the virus dictates where this timeline is going to go. Folks, do you see that's a professional? He's been doing this a long time. This guy knows what he's talking about. And then we have the president, and there's no way that Dr. Fauci didn't tell the president this. There's no way that Donald Trump's people, his administration, were not told that. But yet Donald Trump gets out there in front of the world, and he sets a timeline, which is dangerous. He sets a timeline of Easter. He makes comments saying that he wants churches full. Well, what happens if Easter comes around? Now people are preparing, right? People that listen to every word the president says as fact or truth are thinking to themselves, no problem. My business is going to open the day after Easter. I can get back to normalcy. I can get back to life on Easter. Well, what happens, and there's a strong possibility this could happen, where things will not get back to normal on Easter. Then what are you going to say? I listen to the doctors. I choose to listen to Dr. Fauci. I choose to listen to the experts. You should not be setting a timeline here, ladies and gentlemen. What Dr. Fauci said is evident and correct. The virus is setting the timeline. We're taking your phone calls on this. Do you agree? Do you disagree with me? Number to call, 702-257-5396. Again, that number, if you want to be a part of this conversation, is 702-257-5396.
And Dr. Fauci actually said a couple other interesting things on CNN last night, Brian. He said, first of all, he said he's worried that the virus could come back. I don't know if you saw that. He said this could be a seasonal thing. This could come and go. And the other thing is, as far as response goes, he's kind of said it shouldn't be a one-size-fits-all where you just set a date and go, okay, Easter, everything's back to normal. Because different parts of the country should respond differently. Like New York is harder hit than maybe someplace in Wyoming. So he thinks that there should be sort of a regional response in terms of opening things back up and fighting the virus. So,
well, folks, I just can't emphasize this enough. When a doctor and someone who's been doing this for a living, a brilliant doctor, someone who's been doing this for 40, 50 years, is saying basically the opposite of what the President of the United States is saying for the American people, if you don't think that's an issue, then I don't know what to tell you, ladies and gentlemen. 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Dave. Dave, you've been waiting patiently on hold. What's on your mind?
Hey, I kind of thought he said he hopes that we would go back to that. Hey, anyways, the reason I called, let's lighten it up. This is all doom and gloom. There's a report. You guys probably heard about up in Portland. It was the Lucky Devil strip club. and they were delivering pizzas. They call it Boober Eats. It keeps the employees occupied and the clients satisfied. The delivery girls do it with no top on. I think we need that in Vegas.
Let me get some extra cheese on that. Dave, let me just respond real quickly to what you first said. We all hope, including Dr. Fauci, that this virus is gone tomorrow. Obviously, we would all hope that by Easter, we're all back to normal. It's not about hoping. We all hope that not one more person contracts this virus and dies. I think we all can agree on that no matter what side of the political spectrum we're on. It's not about hope. Right, of course. We all agree on that, Dave. Of course. But it's not about hope here. It's about facts. And the fact is, hold on, JD. I know you just came from number 2. Hold on a second. The bottom line here is this. When the doctor says that it's not more than likely by Easter, we won't all be out there, and he's basically saying the opposite of what the president is saying, and the doctor speaks so eloquently when he says it's the virus that gives us a timeline. It's not the, I think, you see where I'm going here?
No, nobody wants to hear that, Brian.
Well, you know who speaks eloquently, and I know you're not going to like to hear it, is Pence. God,
That's true. He does.
I know you don't like him,
He does. He's done well lately.
He does really well. But hey, you guys, I'm driving. I got to look what I'm doing.
I appreciate you, sir. I appreciate you. Thank you. Okay, so let me comment on what you just said about Mike Pence. First of all, Mike Pence isn't the president. He's still very important for him to show leadership. And I think when Mike Pence is asked the question about people that are scared, Mike Pence certainly answers those questions, and he's a hell of a lot more presidential than Donald Trump. So I will agree with you there. But again, it's the president of the United States that is the leader of the free world. Mike Pence is not the president. Mike Pence is the vice president, still a very important position. But the reason why I'm not hanging – hold on, let me just finish. The reason why I'm not hanging on every word that Mike Pence says is because back in 2000, Mike Pence was the guy that said that cigarettes didn't kill you. The reason why I'm not hanging on every word that Mike Pence says is because as a politician, he had an epidemic when it came to AIDS, when it came to syringes and drug issues, and he decided to just pray it away. For a week, he didn't put things into policy that would have saved lives. And then when he decided to attempt to pray it away and people were dying, he then backtracked and he put some things into policy because of his religion. So while I agree with you, sir, that Mike Pence shows more leadership and he speaks better than Donald Trump and he doesn't embarrass himself like Donald Trump does on a regular basis, that is not an excuse. And I believe our president needs to be more presidential, answer questions to the best of his ability, not the best of his ego, and listen more to Dr. Fauci and what he says.
The reason why he brought up Pence, this particular caller, is because we've had about 4 shows dedicated to him being a moron and a buffoon, and he's clearly is not, and he's done a very, very good job, especially the last weeks, leading the task force, in my opinion.
I think that's right, JD. I have to agree with JD. The caller's point was, we're talking about demeanor. He was talking about demeanor, and you got Trump doing one thing, and then Pence getting up there and presenting a whole other thing.
Listen, I agree. Listen, hold on a second. How did I first respond to this? You guys aren't listening to me. I agree with him. Pence answers questions in a more professional manner, and he answers questions more eloquently. I agree with that 100%, but going back to what
probably a little more cautious, too, in his wording.
Yes, which is important, and I give him credit for that. But when I call him a buffoon, JD, okay, anybody who says cigarettes didn't kill anybody in 2000, anybody who says that if you're gay, I support conversion therapy, tell me that's not a buffoon.
I think we're developing a Pence checklist now. So now you've got a Trump checklist, and we have a Pence checklist.
Well, let me ask you a question then. Okay, well, let me ask you a question, JD. I'll ask you a question checklist, okay?
Okay.
What would you call somebody who thinks that homosexuals should go through conversion therapy? Is that not a buffoon?
I actually agree with you on that.
Okay, so he is a buffoon.
I don't think he's a buffoon, but clearly I don't agree with what he's doing.
Okay.
And why would I?
So what would you call him then?
Because the guy who actually created conversion therapy actually ended up coming out as gay, I believe, 6 or 8 months ago?
Mike Pence is next. Trust me, Mike Pence is next.
You think Mike Pence is a closet homosexual?
I absolutely do. 702-257-5396. That's why he won't let any man talk to her in another room, because he's afraid to be too attracted to the man.
Or he's just insecure.
That's why.
Or he's just insecure.
Well, most people that are insecure are afraid to be themselves.
So if you're insecure, you're a homosexual.
Didn't say that. You're also putting words in my mouth. Let's get to our busy phone lines. Let's go back to some calls. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Davis. Davis, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Davis?
Good morning, guys. Good to talk to you as always. So Brian, Trump doesn't think that the country's going to be reopened at Easter. What he's doing is he doesn't want to say it's going to take 18 months and we're going to be shut down. He's trying to support the market. I call you every day and tell you that.
That's okay.
Right. He's putting hope into people's minds.
Exactly. So
Davis, that's not what he's saying. That's not what he's saying. JD, hold on.
No, there's water under the bridge. You got to read between the lines on why he's doing what he's doing. He is trying to keep the American people hopeful and to keep the market where it is. And the last thing he wants to do, and honestly, I looked at this bill, and you've got 4 months of unemployment benefits at plus $600 a week, which is potentially good since you really can't spend your money anywhere. You've got $1,200 that's coming in 3 weeks. I'm not sure if that's fast enough. But the United States government cannot afford another one of these or another two or three of these major stimulus packages. If that happens,
we're not talking about the stimulus.
No, we need to. That's
I'm talking about what the caller just said.
The reason Trump is doing what he's doing is he wants to avoid having to do that. He wants the economy to stay strong.
So put out false information.
He wants the stock market to stay strong. He wants people to be hopeful that this will be over soon.
Let me go back to the caller real quickly. Davis, let's have a conversation here. That's not what the president said. What you're saying is different than what the president said. If the president yesterday said, boy, wouldn't it be great if we could get everything open by Easter? Now, I'm not sure if that's going – hold on, let me finish. I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not, but boy, wouldn't it be a great thing for this country? I wouldn't have had a problem if he said that. The problem is that's not what he said. He said he believes that everything will be back to normal and the target date is Easter. You have Dr. Fauci yesterday on national television. Trump is not an expert. He's not a doctor. Dr. Fauci is. And he said the virus will dictate when we reopen. It's the virus. Okay, so Davis, I'd like you to respond to that.
Well, he's trying to put a floor into the market. So I do work for resorts, in the Dominican and in Hawaii, and we're doing our budget now going forward. Now, what do we want to say? We're going to be closed 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, a year?
No, say what Dr. Fauci said. Why not say what Dr. Fauci said? Can't we just say why not just say what Dr. Fauci said?
If you're Disney, are your parks closed this summer or this summer?
Davis.
Actually, Disney's opening up April 1st.
You want to start projecting revenues out?
It's why you're not answering my question. You're not, Davis. You're not answering my question.
The problem is, Brian, you take everything so literally, and Davis is coming from a whole different perspective, a perspective you don't have a lot of experience with.
JD, I have no idea what you're talking about. Davis, I'll go back to what I just said, and if you can answer my question, why not say what Dr. Fauci said? That is a question that I asked you 5 times that you didn't answer. Dr. Fauci said, well, listen, we'd love to be open in several weeks. We'd love to reopen everything. But the virus will dictate that because that is a professional. Let's get back to our phone calls at 702-257-5396. Let's go to Alex. Alex, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Alex?
Hey, good morning. Hey, listen, real quick, $15 raise for the screener. What a nice guy.
Well, we'd like to. Sean is a fantastic producer. I want to give Sean a prop. Sean is doing a great job for us in the studio.
Brad.
Yeah, great job for us in the studio right now. So thank you for mentioning that because sometimes I forget. And Sean's awesome. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Alex.
Real quick, listen. I applaud Donald Trump for the job he's doing. I don't do construction, but I'm in the construction material supply end of the business. And I speak to a lot of people, and let me tell you something. All of them appreciate the way Donald Trump is speaking because he's doing exactly what they want is to feel hope. Once you take hope away, if he were to be more technical about this and be pessimistic because I keep hearing a year and a half. Some of the people I work with, when they heard a year and a half that it's going to take a year and a half to clear.
Alex, fair point.
It's terrifying.
Okay, Alex, stay on the line.
A timeline short.
I got you, Alex. Alex, stay on the line. I want to ask you a question now, and I kind of want to make a statement here. I think there's a difference between hope and then not facts, facts and non-facts. So let me be. You can laugh all you want, JD, but I'm gonna say it like this, and here's what I'm going to say. If the president yesterday said, "Wouldn't it be great for the country?" and I am hopeful that we can get to Easter and everything can reopen, that's hope. That's not what he said. He said in his own terms that he believes that we will be open by Easter. Now there's hope, and then there's things that he says that are not facts. There is a difference there, and there is a fine-tuning that needs to be done there. I have no problem with hope, Alex. Everybody be safe. Everybody be calm. We're going to get through this as a nation. That is what Mike Pence has said, and as I've said before, I give him credit for that. The president is not doing that. He said by Easter he wants the churches to be full. That is false hope. There's a difference between hope and false hope. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, I understand your point, but I'm just getting communication from a lot of people, and they feel that's a lot better than hearing a year and a half. But by the way, real quick on the Joe Biden. Apparently, Joe Biden. I don't know if he did a commercial, but I heard it earlier on the radio. Commercial for Joe Biden. He's talking about what he would do if he were president under these circumstances, and he gave a list. Can you believe about 99% of what Joe Biden mentioned is everything Donald Trump is mentioning, except he makes it sound like Donald Trump is not doing it, which is stunning to me that Joe Biden has to be such a fake and such a liar.
Wait, hold on a second.
And Alex, you aren't the only one that's thinking that about Trump. In fact, Trump is probably as popular as he's ever been in his presidency right now. He's doing very well in the polls. And having the idea that the virus controls our destiny, the virus controls our country, this virus can come through and dictate how we operate. Trump doesn't want to hear that. The American people don't want to hear that. The American people want hope. Because I mean, let's be honest. Right now, if you're, let's say you're not even in Las Vegas, but say you're in California or New York, you can't do anything you want to do normally. Your life is totally changed.
Well, I got some hope for you.
It's not just inconvenienced; it is literally altered. Your life is completely altered. People want their lives back, and I'm one of them. And we had the debate yesterday, between me and Doug and Brian, and Doug and Brian were under the impression that just because Trump, touted that one particular drug, I don't care who touts any drugs, as long as the drugs are successful, as long as they treat people, as long as we can get this thing over with, so we can all just go back to our normal lives. That is all I want. That's all the American people want, and Trump recognizes that, and he's leveraging that. That's not false hope.
I find it interesting that last caller who was on just called Joe Biden a liar. And if you are one of those people, let me be very clear on this. If you are a Trump supporter, that's fine. But if you're one of those people that is going to call Joe Biden a liar, and you can't trust Joe Biden, but you think Donald Trump is Mr. Goody-Good Two-Shoes, and you think Mr. Trump is not a liar, then you have zero, and I mean zero, credibility. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Doug. Doug, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's up, Doug?
Hey, what's up, Doug?
Hey, guys. Real quick, Brian, I think when Trump says, his expectation is Easter, his expectation was 15 days and Monday. So while he says that, he's going to get advice and it's going to change. I mean, I certainly would believe he's going to listen to Dr. Fauci and the experts. I mean, he's moved it back already as well, and he's in a no-win situation. I mean, you keep things closed, economy tanks. He gets hit for that. You move things open, people die. He's a murderer. So I mean,
I haven't said that.
No, but that's the way people will take it. Like I'm not you said that, but I've heard people say, and I believe it. I mean, I wouldn't want his job. He's in a bad situation.
Oh, it's a horrible situation.
Well, hold on. Let me just comment on that. Nobody forced him to run for president of the United States. He decided to.
No, that's not. But no one expected a pandemic, a global pandemic, the worst since the Spanish flu. 102. No one expected it, Brian. You can say you did, but you're wrong. So no one expected.
I'm wrong.
Yes, you're wrong. You're wrong.
Really, I'm wrong.
You expected this?
You quoted a study yesterday. Ass backwards.
It was not ass. First of all, it was TechCrunch. Was the article?
Here's where
I was incorrect. It was 20 out of 30 when they were given the hybrid drug.
You gave false information.
I was
wrong.
Brian, you've given false information there plenty of times.
Name one.
Plenty of times.
Name one.
First of all, I didn't knowingly give false information on the air.
What have I said false about this virus? Name one.
Not about this virus in particular, but just something along the lines of
what
we had conversations about.
Name one.
That being said, Brian, I was wrong about the study. It's 20.
Sound like a caller now.
It's 20. No, I don't.
Yes, you
it's
do.
20 out of 30. It's not 30 out of 30.
Well, that's what I said yesterday.
No, you didn't. You said 6.
No, 20 people were not cured of the virus.
6 out of 30.
20 people were not cured of coronavirus out of 30.
It was 20 out of 30.
20 people were
based on the study that I read from TechCrunch.
20. So you're willing to say on the air right now.
This was about 8 days ago.
So you're willing to say on the air right now.
I'm not going to let you back me into a quorum, Brian.
Okay, I'm asking you a very specific question.
I'm not a caller.
Okay, well, I'm asking you a very specific question. Whether you're a caller or not, you're saying 20 out of 30 people were cured of the coronavirus.
Yes, based on the article that I read
That's
from
not true.
TechCrunch.
That's not true.
Again, we're not going to go over this again, Brian.
Well, we're going over it again because you're wrong. You're now saying things again that are not true. Read another article, something that's reputable, and I guarantee you will find different information. It wasn't 20 out of 30 people that were cured of the virus. It just wasn't, JD. It's wrong information. Okay, we can disagree on opinions. We can disagree on politics. That's why we're here. That's great. I love doing that with you. But when you give out information that is not true, I have to be able to call you out on it. I have to. And that thing that you gave out is not true. It's just simply not. Yesterday it was 30 out of 30. Now it's 20 out of 30. It's very important that we give out factual information on this show. And I'm telling you, I've read.
Again, I said I was incorrect. It was 20 out of 30 when they were given the combination of hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin.
20 out of 30 what?
In 6 days. In 6 days, the virus was gone from their system.
So you're saying 20 out of 30 people were cured of coronavirus?
The study that was conducted in France, yes, that's exactly what I read from again, it was TechCrunch.com. That was the article.
Okay, well, I don't know where they got that information
based on a
from.
French study, Brian.
According to Fox News, CNN, and MSNBC that talked about this study, you're right, 20 people went through it. A couple people were not able to finish it. One person was in the ICU. One person got sick from the drugs, and 6 people showed symptoms that improved and they got better. So I'm just giving out the information that the big news outlets are giving out, not TechCrunch or that article that you get. That's all. That's all I'm saying. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Again, 257-5396. We're obviously talking about Dr. Fauci. Seems to be on different ends of the spectrum than what Donald Trump said. Donald Trump
he also said Dr. Fauci 2 days ago said, I'm tired of the media pitting me against Donald Trump, which is exactly what you're doing right now, my friend.
No, I'm just using his own words. So you could have that interpretation.
So am I.
That's a right-wing talking point.
No, it's not. That's reality.
No, that's something that Tucker Carlson would say.
It's something that Dr. Fauci actually specifically stated.
So explain this to me then, and we'll get back to our phone calls. Explain this to me. You have the President of the United States that is saying he believes everything will be open by Easter. That's the timeline he's giving us. And then Dr. Fauci yesterday says that we shouldn't be putting a timeline on it. It's the virus that is putting together the
First
timeline.
of all, the virus, like I said, the virus should not dictate how we operate. The virus should not dictate how we do things.
You disagree with the expert.
No one wants to. Do you want to hear that? Do you want to hear that a virus?
I want to hear the truth.
No, you don't. That a virus dictates.
I don't want to hear the truth.
That a virus dictates how you live your life.
I don't want to.
You want to hear that?
I'll tell you what I want to hear from. I want to hear from an expert.
After building a life for yourself, you want to hear that a virus dictates how you and everyone you know lives your life.
I would tell you
the next 6 to 9 months.
I'll answer your question. I'll tell you.
Or 18 months, or 12 months, or however long it's going to take.
I'll answer your question that you just asked me. I would want to. Here's what I want to hear. I want to hear the truth from the experts. Donald Trump is not an expert. I'm not an expert. You're not an expert.
You know what? Dr. Fauci is an expert,
yes,
but he has never had any experience with something like this.
So Trump knows more than Dr. Fauci.
I'm not saying Trump knows more than
Dr.
Fauci. I'm not saying that either.
So
I'm just saying Dr. Fauci has not had experience with a virus like this because the last one was 100 years ago, and he's not 150 years old. He's probably 79 years old.
So what's your point? He doesn't know what he's talking about?
I'm just saying he doesn't know exactly what's going to happen. You said facts.
Know exactly.
He is making educated guesses based on hypotheses. He doesn't know because
based on that, based on what you just said,
something like this has never happened since the Spanish flu 102 years. There isn't a person alive on the planet who knows what's going to happen with this virus.
Regardless of what you just said, Dr. Fauci can make an educated guess that has far more to back it up than you, me, or President Trump. That is the bottom line, and you cannot convince me otherwise. I'm sorry, JD. You just can't. This man is an expert. This man knows what he's talking about because he's done it for a living. And just because we haven't seen this specific type of virus since he's been working doesn't mean he doesn't know what he's talking about either. I want to hear from I want to hear from the professionals. I want to hear from the doctors. I want to hear from the brilliant people that can give us the best idea of what's transpiring down the road. And it was Dr. Fauci, who is one of those people, who said it yesterday on CNN that the virus is going to, basically dictate what the timeline is. Not the President of the United States, not you, not me, saying, well, you know what, Easter's a fun day, it's a great day, so I think we'll be fine by Easter. That is the only point I'm trying to make here. Am I saying that Dr. Fauci is 100% right on everything that he says? Absolutely not. I would never say that. But again, I think it's a very, very, very logical point that I am making, that I would rather hear from the doctors and from the professionals, the people that actually know what they're talking about, than Donald Trump. And again, that's the only point I'm trying to make, and I have a feeling we're going to continue this conversation on the other side of the break. We'll take a quick break, and we want to take more of your phone calls on the other side. I know a lot of people have been waiting patiently on hold. We want to get to you. So 702-257-5396 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. We have a few phone lines that are open. Again, that number to call, 702-257-5396. Take a quick break. We'll continue this conversation on the other side. You're listening to the Vegas Take, 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. Let's talk credit card debt for a minute. If you feel you're carrying too much of it, you're not alone. The average household in the U.S. carries over $8,000 in credit card debt. Ready for some good news? With a cash-out refinance from Quicken Loans, you can quickly and easily put some of the equity in your home to good use by paying off a lot of that high-interest credit card debt. A great way to take cash out is with our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.99%. APR 4.23%. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN to learn how taking cash out with a 30-year fixed mortgage might be the right solution for you. And for a record 10 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rates subject to change. Pay 2% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Special report coronavirus update. House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy blames China for lying to the world and delaying the response to the coronavirus.
Thousands of people are dying just because they were worried about a reputation instead about the health of their own people.
Speaker Nancy Pelosi says the giant relief bill is helpful, but more will be needed.
The bill last night and tomorrow will be a large infusion of funds for hospitals, health systems, and state and local governments. We want more, this was a big, strong step, but we need more.
The House will vote on the $2 trillion bill tomorrow. Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau has told the Trump administration he opposes the U.S. putting troops at the U.S.-Canada border during the pandemic. A statewide stay-at-home order is taking effect in Colorado. And the Israeli airline El Al says it is suspending all flights to and from Israel beginning at midnight tonight. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Letterman Road Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by Allstate. Police activity is closed Hollywood Boulevard northbound just before Cary Avenue. Take Nellis instead. Also an accident on the 95 southbound at Charleston at the off-ramp. Watch for slowing in the area there. And elsewhere on the surface streets, a crash reported at Sahara, east of Valley View. Police and fire are on scene for injuries sustained. Expect slowing and lane restrictions. With an Allstate agent, you get a local expert and help finding the best coverage for you. Plus, when you bundle home and auto, you can save. So call your local Allstate agent today. Are you in good hands? I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
UMC is here with a simple reminder: wash your hands and stay home for Nevada. It's the best way to protect yourself, your family, and Nevada's valued healthcare professionals.
I'm Todd Graves of Raising Cane's. We've always operated with the highest standard food safety, cleanliness, and health. I know how important it is to have a trusted, safe, and clean place to feed you and your loved ones. Raising Cane's is open and here to serve you through our drive-thrus and takeout. One love.
Jim Marsh, Chrysler, Jeep, Kia, and all of their employees and their families are here with a reminder of the COVID-19. Please wash your hands often and protect yourself and your families. They want all Nevadans to stay healthy.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM. KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us. By the way, coming up in hour number 3, this is going to be a lot of fun. Always love talking to this guy. He has been the face of poker for the last 20 years, 6 World Series of Poker bracelets. Obviously a professional poker player, so this is hurting his industry tremendously. Are we going to have the World Series of Poker in Las Vegas? Real Kid Poker, Daniel Negreanu will be joining us coming up in hour number 3. You know, I also want to talk to him a little hockey because he is one of the biggest Vegas Golden Knights fans I've ever met. If not the biggest fan, and he's a huge hockey fan. This has got to be killing him not to be able to go to Vegas Golden Knights games and watch hockey, because I know that's a big part of what he does when he's not playing poker. So Danny Negreanu will be joining us in hour number 3. We're also going to get to this Joe Biden story where we have a woman who claims in 1993 Joe Biden allegedly sexually assaulted her. Certainly worth talking about. Is it believable or not? Certainly any woman who accuses anybody of sexual assault should be taken seriously, but there's going to be a lot of questions on the left and the right. Is this woman credible? Is this story credible? And, is Joe Biden guilty of this crime? I mean, obviously, with all the time that has passed, you can't convict him. You can't charge him with a crime. But certainly we will talk about it coming up in hour number 3 as well. What we're doing right now is we're talking about Dr. Fauci and the response of Donald Trump, the comments that Donald Trump has made in his press conferences over the course of the last several days, including yesterday when he said that by Easter he believes everything will be back to normal. That is his goal. He wants the churches to be full. That's what he said. And then Dr. Fauci goes on CNN yesterday. And what does Dr. Fauci say? Well, Dr. Fauci says kind of the opposite, that we shouldn't dictate a timeline, that the virus dictates the timeline. And I agree with him. It should be a day-by-day basis, right? The timeline should be day by day. Where are we looking at? How are the hospitals looking? How many people have contracted the virus? Are we continuing to rise at a level that maybe our hospitals can't keep up with it? So I understand what Dr. Fauci said, and the thing about Trump is, you know, if he gets up there and he says, listen, I really hope that we can get back to normal by Easter, I wouldn't have a problem with that. That is giving hope to the Americans. I don't have a problem with that at all. But I don't think Mike Pence has made comments like that. And we had a caller that called in last segment that said, you know, Pence is answering these questions, more presidential than Trump is. And I certainly agree with that. I think Pence is being a little bit more careful with his answers. And I think that's what we need. And I think that's what we need from the president right now in these difficult times. So I'm going to listen to the doctors. My point is I'm going to listen to the professionals. I'm going to listen to what they have to say about this. And that's who I'm paying attention to, and that's what I'm listening to. And according to Dr. Fauci, there is no immediate timeline in place. None. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Again, that number, 257-5396. Let's go to Mike. Mike, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Mike?
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, I got 4 things if you leave me on long enough. One, you're saying stuff about all these other people. What about Nancy Pelosi holding up the stimulus bill, putting all these stuff in there, and the Democrats?
All right, I can start there. Sure, I can start there. Absolutely. What is it that she asked for in the stimulus bill that you have a problem with?
Well, I'm not exactly sure.
You're not exactly sure, but yet you want to criticize Nancy Pelosi. Do you realize how ridiculous you sound when you ask me a question and you say...
Give somebody half a minute instead of...
Well, answer my question.
Anybody answer a question?
Okay, so answer it. Be specific. What has Nancy Pelosi proposed or put in this bill that you disagree with? It's an easy question since you're criticizing her for it.
But the other thing is you're sitting there, you ask somebody...
Answer the question. I just asked you a question. Please answer it.
He doesn't give you enough time to answer the question.
Okay, I'll give you enough time. With all due respect, I'll give you enough time. You just criticized Nancy Pelosi with this stimulus bill, and now, hold on, I'll give you plenty of time to answer. I'll give you 5 minutes if you'd like, sir. I'm asking you a very specific question. You called up saying, why don't you criticize Nancy Pelosi with this stimulus bill? And I ask you a very specific question. What has she asked for in this bill that you have a problem with? It's a very fair question, sir. Go ahead. You have all the time in the world to answer it.
In this bill or the previous one?
In this bill that you just criticized her for.
When they started out, she put in a bunch of, her and the Democrats, put in some stuff that they were for, I'll write it down next time.
You'll write it down next time. So you can't think of one thing. JD, did I give him enough time?
You gave enough time.
Okay.
So
okay.
She wanted money. She wanted money for the post office. She wanted money for performing arts centers.
All right.
She wanted money for abortion. She wanted money for mail-in voting. There was a number of things, and she did come back from vacation. The deal was basically done. She came back from vacation and she said, "No, this isn't going to work."
Okay, but my point being,
she extended the time frame for the bill actually getting passed.
All right. Well, I gave that guy ample time, and he couldn't answer the question. I thought that was a very if you're going to criticize a Democrat or Republican, have some things to back it up. That's all I'm saying. And by the way, I think both sides are to blame. I think both sides are to blame.
But no, in this case, it's definitely Nancy Pelosi. But
it's all Nancy Pelosi.
No, Brian, the deal is almost done. She came in and she extended it. She added a bunch of things that, I mean, she's pushing an agenda, trying to get things done because she knows, and I've said this probably 100 times, Joe Biden is toast in 2020. They're not going to have a chance to pass things like this, and now they're taking their opportunity. They're leveraging a crisis to push things through that they otherwise would not have a chance to push through.
So it's all Nancy Pelosi. You don't put any responsibility on the Republicans.
For what? Doing what?
Okay, I'll give you a perfect example. The Republicans did not want to extend unemployment benefits. It was Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats that made sure that they extended the unemployment benefits during this time. You don't blame Republicans for that?
How long?
I believe it was 4 weeks, and they extended it to several months. The Democrats were able to do that.
So they increased it by 8 weeks.
Do you not? I didn't say 8 weeks. I think it's actually longer than that.
No, I know. It's 4 months. Yeah, it's 4 months. It's 600 extra a week.
The Democrats pushed that.
Right.
Are you willing to give Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats credit for that and criticize the Republicans? Because you just said it was all Nancy Pelosi.
Am I willing to give her credit and criticize the Republicans? Yeah, Brian. Sure.
Are you being sarcastic or are you being serious?
Absolutely. I'm willing to do that, Brian.
Okay, it doesn't sound like you're being serious. So you think 1 month was enough unemployment for people in this crisis? You think you're okay with Republicans doing that?
I said I'm willing to give her credit, Brian.
all right.
I just didn't answer the way you wanted me to answer.
Okay, I thought you were being
No,
sarcastic.
how would you prefer that I answer the question, Brian?
It sounded to me
No,
like you were being
just tell me
facetious.
exactly how I can answer it, so I satisfy the way you need the question answered.
If you're telling me that you're being serious, then I accept that. It sounded to me like you were kind of not being serious.
And you don't accept that then if I'm not.
Yeah, well, if you say you're being serious, fine. It sounded to me like you weren't being serious. 702.
$600 a week for 4 months.
For 4 months, yeah.
Yeah, which, by the way, the Republicans didn't want that. The Democrats are the ones that pushed that forward. So if somebody's going to call into the show and criticize a Democrat, or in this case Nancy Pelosi, and you can't think of one thing off the top of your head, a reason why, then there's something wrong with you. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Michelle. Michelle, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Michelle?
Hi, Brian. Hi, JD. Listen, if you're out there and you are healthy and your family is well, you have a lot to be thankful for today. Regarding Easter and setting that as a date by President Trump, I think it's a beautiful thing. We all know that spring, Easter, Passover, that it all represents new life, hope, and celebration. The birds are singing, and people feel good. The weather is warm and beautiful. So, yes, it's a big deal for people to look forward. That's only, 3.5 weeks away, that we can say maybe the churches will be open. It doesn't mean that everyone will attend. You could have a married couple that says, hey, I'm going to church on Easter. The other person in the marriage might say,
Michelle, there's nothing wrong. Michelle, let me be clear. There's nothing wrong with what you're saying. We all want to have hope. And I am very hopeful, and I hope that you're right. I hope that the president is right. But he's just saying it in a little different way. And do you see the language that he uses? He's not using a language saying, boy, I'm really hopeful that we can get things back to normal by Easter. I wouldn't have a problem with that, but he's putting it as fact that he believes our timeline is that everything's going to be fine by Easter, and I have a problem with that. That's all.
Yes, he likes to speak with great affirmation and positiveness. He puts that spin on things, but I like it.
Yeah, confidence is an issue. Confidence is an issue if there's not facts attached, especially for something like this that hasn't happened in 102 years.
702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Valerie. Valerie, I believe you're next on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Valerie?
Hi, good morning.
What's up, Valerie?
Hey, so, Brian, you listen to professionals, right? You rely on professionals. You've said that numerous times.
Yeah, I say basically my point on this whole thing is I'd rather listen to doctors and the people in Trump's administration that actually are the professionals than the president himself. Yes.
Okay, so I'm a professional. My name's Valerie, and I'm a professional.
Okay, what do you do?
I'm a citizen.
Are you a doctor?
I have a graduate degree. It's not relevant.
Okay, that's absolute. No. You're misunderstanding me, Valerie. With all due respect, I'll let you respond, but you're misunderstanding me. When I say professional, I mean a professional doctor, somebody that is in the medical field, somebody that is a professional in this field that can talk about this virus. When I use the term professional, I'm not talking about a professional mechanic. I'm not talking about a professional blackjack dealer. Who would you rather talk to? A professional mechanic about the coronavirus? Or a doctor. That's what I mean, Valerie, when I say professional.
Now, here's the problem, Brian. Donald Trump is in this position where he has to find a way to not only save lives, but also keep the economy going. And if Dr. Fauci, the professional, the expert, he is not a professional on what's happening with the economy. He's not a professional on how everything that's taking place is going to affect the economy. He's just thinking from a scientific standpoint, how long is this virus probably going to affect the United States, and at what point can we actually open up the economy so that we can keep it afloat without killing so many people? And Donald Trump has the very difficult decision of finding a happy medium between both of those things, as well as keeping people's morale relatively high, because right now everyone across the country, if you can't work, you're at home, you can't go to the gym, you can't watch sports, you're with your family, you're with your kids. It's a very stressful situation. You don't know when it's going to end. And then if you go to the grocery store, you could get the virus at the grocery store. So Donald Trump has the very difficult job of kind of juggling all three of those things. And Dr. Fauci, yes, is he a professional? When it comes to this, or when it comes to viruses like this, although he hasn't seen a virus that is this contagious and this deadly at the same time ever, so no one has. But is he professional in one of these spaces? Yes, but Donald Trump has to do all three, and you aren't understanding that. You're just thinking that just because Dr. Fauci says, from a scientific perspective, that this virus may last, 3 or 4 months before it's it's in a position where it's not going to spread more, that doesn't make a difference because Donald Trump, people are going to die from this, Brian, because we still have to keep the economy going. The economy can't be set back 20 years. That can't take place, and so it's at some point there's going to be a happy medium where you have to say, okay, this is what the economy, or this is the timeline that keeps the economy relatively in place, but it also saves quite a few lives. But then also I have to say enough things that keep people thinking that this is going to be over very, very soon because their lives are so drastically altered. And there's 3 steps. There's 3 different categories to what's taking place here. It's not just Fauci, the expert, the scientist, and it's great that you want to listen to him, but there's more that you have to take into consideration with what's really going on.
Well, my opinion doesn't change one bit. He said that the virus is what should set the timeline, not.
And you want to as an American as an American citizen,
I let you talk for 3 minutes, and I talked for 4 seconds. But go ahead, keep going.
As an American citizen, you want that to dictate how you live your life. This virus that you can't see. This virus that is just in your brain all the time when you go to the grocery store, no matter where you go, you're thinking about putting hand sanitizer on your hands, you're wearing masks, your whole life is completely changed, and you want this virus to just dictate every single action in your life? I don't. I definitely don't. I think a lot of people think the same way I do. And if I was 65 or 70 years old or 75 years old, I would rather live my life than be scared of this virus. And I think that a lot of the country is realizing that and is accepting that at this point. And if this doesn't stop in the next 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to see that happen.
You want me to respond?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Please respond, Ryan.
You gave me 3.5 seconds last time.
I'm sorry.
You would rather not be scared and live your life, you just said, than be worried about this virus. Well, my response to that is this. It doesn't mean that in 2 or 3 weeks we should all just go out there and work and do our job and be who we are, and let's just not listen to the doctors and the experts. That's not what it means. I want to listen to the experts. I want to listen to the doctors, and if they say it's not safe and they deem it not safe to go back to your jobs, but yet the president is saying something else because he's thinking about the economy, I have a very serious...
He's not just thinking about the economy, he's also...
Again.
Okay.
I have a very serious issue with that. That was what I was going to finish saying.
He's thinking about, yes, the economy and the morale of the people that he's speaking to, the citizens of the United States, whose lives have been drastically altered by this out of nowhere.
Well, that's there's no question that that's the case, but you can give people morale at the same time, be factual with information, and make sure people are safe.
I'll tell you,
can do both.
But Fauci isn't being factual either because he hasn't dealt with this before. He's
what do you mean he's not being factual?
He's making an educated guess based on what he thinks is going to happen.
What are you talking about? This guy's been doing this for 40 years.
That doesn't mean he's speaking in absolutes of what's going to take place. It doesn't mean he's speaking in absolute of what's going to take place, Brian.
Again,
it's not Fauci's job to keep the American...
let's listen to Donald Trump and not Dr. Fauci.
I'm not saying that, Brian.
Well, it sounds like you're saying
No,
that.
I'm saying Dr. Fauci doesn't have to think about the economy and the morale of the people. All he thinks about
is the health and well-being of Americans.
Is the science
and
behind...
the health and well-being of Americans.
Actually, is the science behind the virus and what he thinks it's going to do.
So you don't think he's looking out for the health and well-being of Americans, health-wise? You don't think he's doing that? That's his job.
He's making educated guesses based on what he thinks this virus, again, he's never dealt with a virus like this before, what he thinks this virus is going to do.
The guy dealt with AIDS in the 80s. The guy has dealt with some very, very serious viruses in his career.
AIDS kills you in how long?
AIDS kills you in how long?
Full-blown AIDS kills you in how long?
Well, now there's a lot of medications
I'm saying back in the 70s.
You tell me. I don't know how long it took.
It definitely didn't take 13 to 14 days. In this situation, if you get this virus and you're susceptible to it, or you're high risk, or you have underlying conditions, this virus can kill you in 13 days.
The reason
there has not been a virus like this that as contagious that can kill you this fast. So no, he has not dealt with the virus like this, and AIDS is not even close to a good comparison because the timeline was so much longer for both.
You're making it out to be that Dr. Fauci is throwing darts and he's just guessing.
I believe he is guessing, yes, because he hasn't dealt with the virus like this.
So let's listen to Donald Trump.
I'm saying he's making educated guesses based on the science. Donald Trump has to worry about all 3 things at the same time.
So let's attack the credibility of Dr. Fauci, but Donald Trump is doing a fantastic job. I understand.
I'm not attacking the credibility of Dr. Fauci. But I do think that doesn't mean that's fact. It is. He is guessing, Brian. He's never dealt with the virus like this before. He is based on what he knows. He thinks the virus is going to do this, but he doesn't really know what's going to happen. He's not speaking in absolutes. He's not speaking in facts. He's making educated guesses because yes, he is a doctor. He is an expert in this field, but nobody in this field in the country has dealt with something like this, because the last time it happened was 1918.
And that doesn't mean he's wrong. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's get back to the phone lines. Let's go to Mike. Mike, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Mike?
Hey, how's it going, JD? I just want to thank you for being the only intelligent voice on that show. I don't know how you sit there every day and listen to Brian's ridiculousness.
What have I said that's ridiculous, sir? Be specific.
Everything that comes out.
Be specific. Don't say everything. Be specific. Give me one thing I've said on this show that's ridiculous.
Trump is a racist.
Didn't say Trump was a racist. When did I say Trump was a racist?
Never said Trump is a racist.
Nope. When did I say that, sir? Please be specific. When did I say Trump is a racist?
On March 12th at approximately.
Yeah, you don't know. Okay, I'll give you number two. I'll give you another guess because you were wrong on that one. Give me something I said that is not factual and ridiculous. Everything. Exactly. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. I gave you a chance. Bye-bye.
No, Mike.
Bye-bye.
You did have a chance. What
do you mean he didn't have a chance? I
said you did have a chance. Brian has accused Trump of being a racist.
I accused him of saying racially charged things.
This is probably a year ago. It's not relevant to this conversation.
All right. Well, I gave him an opportunity.
Yeah.
I think.
Get your mic on, producer Stein.
I don't know what.
There you go. You're good. You're good. Go ahead.
Bob does what here?
Go ahead.
This is terrible. I think, I just want to say, note to callers, you listen day in and day out. You've heard it 100 times. It's a broken record. When you call and you want to challenge Brian, like many of you do, just have something specific. And I can tell my 72-year-old father, write it down. Have a little notepad and a little pen and pencil and write it down. On this date, you said this, and make sure the quote is exact.
Right.
And then that is the way to argue with Brian.
I think that's the right to argue with anybody or debate anybody.
Write it down. In this situation, at least keep it topical. This isn't about race.
Brian says ridiculous.
This is about the coronavirus. This is about how it's affecting the United States and how Dr. Anthony Fauci and Donald Trump just disagree. But there's reasons behind it, and we're discussing.
Brian says a bunch of ridiculous, stupid things. Really, sir? Okay, name me one thing. Well, everything. Give me one. Well, I don't know one off the top of my head.
I've never heard you say Trump is racist.
Dumbbell.
But you have told Trump supporting callers to go to their Klan rally.
Well, yeah. If they say racist,
that's happened a couple of times too.
Well, if they say racist things, absolutely. I mean, we have somebody called in last week who was talking about an African American, or as he said, a black person who went into somebody else's apartment and robbed them, and then he called them a monkey. So I called him out, and that is probably the Grand Wizard himself who called in last week. We don't tolerate racism on this show. For the record, I've never called Donald Trump a racist. What I have said is he said some racially charged things. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Wade. Wade, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Wade?
Good morning. I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV.
Okay, fair enough.
No,
that's a good start.
You stayed at the Holiday Inn Express.
No, seriously. I've had a medical condition for most of my whole life, and I've done medical research for most of my whole life. So I'm not a doctor, but does that mean I don't know what I'm talking about?
Didn't say you don't know what you're talking about. Here's what I am saying. I would rather listen to a doctor than you. Does that not make any sense to you?
Yeah, but just because you're a professional doctor, like a lawyer is a professional, but that doesn't mean you have to agree with what they
Okay,
say.
so let me ask you another question then. Who would you rather listen to when it comes to the virus, when it comes to this coronavirus? Who would you rather get all the details from, Donald Trump or Dr. Fauci?
Well, a president is supposed to promote calmness.
That's not what I asked you.
To prevent chaos.
That's not what I asked you. I said, who would you rather listen to when it comes to the specifics about this virus, Dr. Fauci or Donald Trump?
Well, personally, I have listened to doctors my whole life, and I don't agree with them.
So you would. So for the record, you would. I just want to make sure I got your opinion right. You're telling me you would rather listen to Donald Trump when it comes to the specifics about this virus than Dr. Fauci. Is that what I'm getting from you, sir?
Because it's not about the virus; it's about saving our country.
Okay, I get it.
That's a very valid
Thank
point.
you, sir. So you would.
And doctors aren't gods. Doctors
Didn't
are
say they were.
wrong on a consistent
Didn't
basis.
say they were.
Medical malpractice happens all over the world.
Didn't
it has
say
for
there
a
wasn't.
long time.
Didn't
and
say
again,
there wasn't.
And Anthony Fauci has one job here: to figure out from a scientific perspective how long this virus is going to last and what the expected American life loss will be from it. Obviously,
I tried to ask this guy.
Donald Trump has to do all these things at once and keep people relatively calm. And that was a great point right now at the most stressful, uncertain times of their lives. What he is doing, in my opinion, is very impressive, considering what he's up against.
All right. Well, I asked that guy the question 3 or 4 times, and he didn't answer it, and it was a very specific. Let me just finish, please. And the specific question was, when it comes to the virus, when it comes to specifics about this virus, I said, would you rather listen to Dr. Fauci? Hold on. With 50 years of experience, or Donald Trump, and he basically said Donald Trump, I'm sorry, that's idiotic.
Well, the problem is that it's a closed question because it's not just about the virus.
I asked a specific question about the virus.
But for him, for anyone you ask that question to, even me, it's not just about the virus. There's so much more. There's so much more you have to factor in. I mean, obviously, does Dr. Fauci know more than Donald Trump about the scientifics behind the virus? Of course.
That guy said he didn't trust doctors.
Of course he does.
That guy said he didn't trust doctors, but he trusts Donald Trump. It's an idiotic statement.
Maybe he's been misled by some doctors over the course of his lifetime.
I certainly think he's been misled.
A lot of doctors, I mean, again, doctors are not gods. They're not perfect, Brian.
Yeah, well, I never said doctors were perfect. Certainly Donald Trump isn't perfect either, but I'm going to rather listen to a doctor than Donald Trump when it comes to specifics about this virus. I think that is a very fair opinion to have, and that was the only point I was trying to make here. I think it's extremely logical. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Len. Len, you're next up in the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Len?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to ask Brian what he thinks of Nancy Pelosi. Why wasn't the vote yesterday or today? Why do we have to wait till tomorrow?
Sure. I'll start off by saying I've never been a fan of Nancy Pelosi. I think she plays politics just like Mitch McConnell plays politics. But the reason why this vote I'll give you a perfect example, the unemployment benefits. They put unemployment benefits at 4 months at $600 a week. The Republicans did not want to push it that far. That's just one example. I could give you many other examples. Am I saying that it's all on the Republicans? Absolutely not. I'm not a fan of Nancy Pelosi. I'm not a fan of Chuck Schumer. I'm glad they passed it. It's disgusting, and I blame both sides of the aisle. This should have been passed 2 weeks ago. Did I answer your question?
It was passed in the Senate 2 days ago. Why isn't the House in session?
Well, the House should be in session. I agree with you, but that's not just Nancy Pelosi's fault. I agree with you. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not just Nancy.
She is the Speaker of the House. By the way, Nancy Pelosi just turned 80 years old today, Brian. Did you know that?
So what?
I don't care how old she is. Know she was that old.
No, I don't care how old she was. But I'm trying to answer your question. I'm trying to be fair and saying I'm blaming both sides for this issue. And I'm also not a fan of Nancy Pelosi. So now that I've answered your question, will you answer mine and put some blame on the Republicans? Or are you just going to put it all on Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats?
It's all on Pelosi.
Yep. Okay. Have a nice day, sir. We're going to get to. Thank you, sir. Have a nice day. You're biased. 702-257-5396 is the number. I gave you a chance to be fair. No, it wasn't a good call at all. No, it wasn't. He blamed. You're right.
It's outstanding.
All right. You're right. It was a great call. 702-257-5396. All right. Our next caller is
Fernando.
Fernando, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind, man?
Hey, what's up, Fernando?
Hey guys, how you doing? I'm doing okay.
Doing well.
First off, I'm retired and I'm sitting outside of my patio here in Sun City.
Fernando, I hate to do this to you. I only got 30 seconds. I'm up against a hard break, my man. Go ahead.
I'll go fast. I'm a professional too. I'm a professional sex phone actor. There's a lot of lonely people at home right now, so the calls are coming in.
Fernando, you do have a sexy voice. I'll give you that.
Okay. And the other thing is, I'd rather be preventive and cautious and just wait this thing out for a little bit more, maybe till May.
There you go, Fernando. Fernando, I'm sorry, my friend. I'm up against a hard break. I wish
we'll call you back.
Yeah, Fernando, that was a good call, my friend. Yeah, thank you, Fernando. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for calling, Fernando.
Stay safe, my friend. We appreciate your phone call. All right, so coming up next, how is the coronavirus affecting locals in this community? Well, we have one professional poker player. His name is Daniel Negreanu, one of the best players in the world. How is this affecting his business of poker? And will the World Series of Poker be happening in a few months? We'll take a break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to the Vegas Take.
I was 9 when I lost my leg to bone cancer. I had a 50% chance to live. After chemotherapy treatments at my children's hospital and the amputation, I had beaten the odds. But would I ever be as active as I once was? Fast forward 20 years, I've competed in the Paralympics and now play on the U.S. amputee soccer team. Help kids live their dreams just like me. Put your money where the miracles are. Give to your Children's Miracle Network Hospital.
This is a commercial announcement. President Trump has taken big steps to stop the coronavirus, but the big media still attack him. If you're fed up with the bias, watch the Chris Salcedo Show. It's on Newsmax TV at 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern Time every weekday. Plus, see great guests like Rudy Giuliani, Bernie Carrick, Dr. Oz, Michelle Malkin, and more. Newsmax TV is on DirecTV, Xfinity, Dish, Spectrum, Cox, Uverse, Fios, Optimum, Suddenlink, and more. So check your cable guide for Newsmax TV.
Coronavirus has brought significant disruption to daily life here in Las Vegas, and we here at KDON want you to stay safe, but at the same time, we want you to help these local businesses in our communities thrive. At KDON, we've set up Operation Gift Card to help local restaurants, bars, and businesses who offer gift cards on their websites. To find out how to purchase gift cards from these great businesses and more, visit our website at kdwn.com and search Operation Gift Card. Remember, we are all in this together.
For Marie, taking care of her siblings isn't just a choice, it's her responsibility. Every day, Leah and Johnny rely on Marie's help just to survive. Marie's greatest fear is what would happen to them if something happened to her. Like Leah and Johnny, most adults with intellectual disabilities need unique care. Nearly 424,000 of them are still waiting. Help more families like Marie's. Give the gift of opportunity. Please give to Opportunity Village at ovgift.org.
Your home for Sean Hannity. KDWN Las Vegas, KKLZ HD2 Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station.
Excuses and just do your job.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo with a message for Washington.
We're one nation. You know the places in this nation that have the most intense problems. Address the places that need the help.
Cuomo says there just aren't enough resources, and no matter what they do to bring down the transmission of the virus, the hospital and healthcare system is crashing. Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau says he opposes the U.S. sending troops to the northern border.
Canada and the United States have the longest unmilitarized border in the world, and it is very much in both of our interests for it to remain that way. We have been in discussions with the United States on this.
Michigan is asking for an emergency declaration by the federal government. I'm Mike Moss. White House advisor Peter Navarro tells Fox News Americans have got to be tough in fighting the coronavirus.
President Trump and his team doing everything we possibly can to deal both with the public health emergency and the economic crisis. And we just have to be like the British, I guess, in World War II, a little stiff upper lip and fight this virus.
The FBI has arrested a Southern California man who officials say falsely claimed to have developed a cure for the coronavirus. The Navy says an outbreak of infections aboard an aircraft carrier in the Pacific has forced it to divert to Guam so that all aboard the Roosevelt will undergo testing. China is temporarily barring all foreign nationals from entry as it seeks to curb the number of imported virus cases. On Wall Street, the Dow was up 931 points. That's a little more than 4%. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Letterman Road Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by H&R Block. We have a road closure, Hollywood Boulevard, northbound, approaching Cary Avenue. This is for police activity. In the meantime, avoid the area. Take an alternate like Nellis Boulevard. And a crash reported on Sahara, east of Valley View. That is an injury crash. Slow and go in the area. No delays to report if you're on I-15 north and south between the Spaghetti Bowl and Tropicana. There's a lot going on right now, and more than ever, people need their tax refund. H&R Block has many ways to do your taxes as safely as possible. Work with a tax pro remotely, drop off, or file online. Block is always there to help. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
Get the rest you deserve with Helix Sleep. Helix makes personalized mattresses to fit your unique body type and sleep preferences and give you the best sleep of your life. Go to helixsleep.com and get up to $200 off mattress orders.
Nevada is taking a tough stance trying to stop the spread of the coronavirus. The Strip and non-essential businesses are shut down.
Now we have to close off another pathway of the virus for ourselves, our cell phones.
So take a minute to clean it with an alcohol wipe or even a drop of soap. Don't put it underwater. or just a little wipe down.
Soap rips the virus to shreds.
Sam and Ash are looking out for you. We will get through this together. Call us at 702-820-1234 or visit samandash.com.
Because you deserve what's right.
UMC is here with a simple reminder. Wash your hands and stay home for Nevada. It's the best way to protect yourself, your family, and Nevada's valued healthcare professionals.
Finley Toyota's Parts and Service Department is open. Come by the dealerships, drop it off, or try our complimentary door-to-door concierge service with vehicle pickup and delivery. Call 702-566-2596 for a service appointment.
Hi, this is Harvey Blankfeld, host of Las Vegas Real Estate Now. We are saying farewell to Tuesdays at 9 a.m. and moving to Saturdays at 11 a.m. Please do tune in every Saturday at 11 a.m. and learn about real estate right here on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDON, the talk of Las Vegas.
The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group. Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro, rolling out the red carpet here for hour number 3. As you know, the coronavirus, it's affecting everyone, obviously in different ways, maybe from a health perspective, from a financial perspective. Vegas is known for the gambling, for the poker, for sports betting, you name it. There are a lot of professional gamblers in this town and some very well-known ones at that. And I wanted to bring this guy on the line with his friend to the show. He has been, for the most part, the face of poker for the last 20 years, one of the most recognizable poker players in the world and one of the best players in the world. Also a super Vegas Golden Knights fan. Obviously, this is affecting him and his business, so we wanted to get him on the line. It is Kid Poker himself, 6-time World Series of Poker bracelet winner, Daniel Negreanu. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you guys doing?
We're hanging in there.
Great, Daniel.
We're hanging in there. We're doing the radio show from my apartment, Daniel, because we can't do it from the radio. I'm serious. We're doing it from my kitchen. But anyway, Daniel, thanks for coming on with us. I wanted to ask you this first question. Obviously, a lot of people in Vegas, the World Series of Poker brings in a lot of money to this town, boost to the economy. What have you heard? What do you know? Do you think the World Series of Poker is going to happen this year?
Well, I mean, if I had to prognosticate, my bet would be on the no. I'd say there's maybe a 10 or 20% chance, maybe, and that's being generous. The issue we face, of course, is first of all, poker itself is like a breeding ground for germs. Like even when we don't have a coronavirus to worry about, people get sick at the Rio every single summer. You're touching the same chips, the same cards, coughing, eating at the table, all kinds of things, right? So the issue we also face is as good of a job as Steve Sisolak has done here in terms of shutting things down, we basically have to wait for the rest of the world to get on board, right? Because it is a tourist town, and all it takes is one person from Florida or wherever to come here and then reinfect everyone. So I think we're in for the long haul. I mean, it's going to take, from what I'm seeing, about a year for a vaccine. So I'm not too optimistic about there being a World Series of Poker this summer.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Daniel. So let me ask you this. How is this affecting you personally? I mean, I would imagine, are you playing home games? Is that even allowed now? I mean, obviously you can't go into a casino and play. How are you handling this whole situation with your business, of course, being poker?
Well, this has been great, frankly. It's been fantastic for business because online poker is booming.
Yeah.
Like booming in a big way. I'm an ambassador for GG Poker, which unfortunately Nevada residents, can't play as of now. But there are regulated sites here and other places, and we're seeing, like 300% increases across the board. I mean, it's a lot more comfortable to play online. If I had the choice of going to the Bellagio, driving down there and playing poker for 6 hours, or being able to do that at home, I'm always going to take home. It's just far more comfortable and convenient.
Right. When you mentioned online, we talked to Seth Polanski last year, and he specifically mentioned, I asked him a question about the future of maybe having an online style World Series of Poker. Do you see that something like that taking place where there's maybe 10 or 15 events all done online this year?
Well, the truth is that was already on the schedule. Last year, they had about 9 events that were counted that were online World Series of Poker Championship races throughout the World Series of Poker. This year, there was 14 scheduled anyway. So I imagine there's a possibility they continue to do that anyway. The problem with it is this: because Nevada's fenced in, only people that are in New Jersey, Nevada, Pennsylvania can play. So how do you call it the World Series of Poker when you can't even have people from New York, California, and forget about the rest of the world. It kind of rings hollow to call it the World Series of Poker when it's fenced in like that.
Fair enough. I have to ask you this, though, and I'm sure you would agree with me. You became famous, your fame, from live poker. Obviously, you started in the era where there was no online poker. As you know, I'm not saying there are no tells and you can't figure out a way somebody's playing. And obviously, there's a tremendous amount of strategy, even if you're playing poker online. Daniel, I totally understand that. But with that being said, isn't poker at its purest when you're mano-a-mano, when you can see the other person? I mean, to me, in my personal opinion, you would know more than me, but to me, the true reality of the essence of poker is when you're sitting at a poker table, not playing poker online. What would you say to that?
Well, I say, listen, there's various forms of poker. Some people like to play stud. Some play Hold'em. Some play a game called Omaha. There's different variations. Some people prefer online poker, which is yet another different variation of the same game. Ultimately, the decisions are the same, right? Whether you're sitting in front of a person or whether you're sitting on the table, you're going to make a decision that's mathematically sound. Obviously, you do mention the one key factor you don't have online is the added bit of physical tells. What you do have is a lot more information because you can track, you can keep notes, you can do all different things. So online poker maybe gears towards a little bit more of a mathematical-based, theory practice rather than, live poker, which is a little bit more about, person to person, as you mentioned.
And I totally get that. And listen, I'm not trying to blast online poker here, but I have to bring this up too. We all know what happened with, Full Tilt Poker. We all know that Ponzi scheme. We know that Ultimate Bet back in the day was one of the biggest websites on the planet when it came to online poker. We all know that the cheating scandal that happened there, and I could name some others as well. I'm not saying cheating doesn't happen in live poker also, because it does happen. There's no question. But wouldn't you be willing to...
Like the Mike Postal situation.
Well, there's no question. There's no question. I wouldn't deny that. But are you willing to say, Daniel, that certainly if you play online poker, it's not as secure as if you are playing live poker? And who's to stop a 12-year-old or a 14-year-old from taking their dad's account or mom's account and playing poker as well?
Okay, I would say strongly that the absolute opposite of everything you said is true. Like, vehemently, and I would argue this is still. You can catch people cheating online because you have access to all the hold cards. If you're playing on a reputable site that has a good security system in place, they can take a look at any sort of collusion or anything that's going on and see what's outside the norm. The reason people got caught back in the day, as you mentioned, is because all that information is available. If 3 or 4 guys were playing live and they're cheating with each other with marked cards or signaling to each other, you'll never know, and there's no way to ever prove it. Similar to this whole goofy Mike Postle thing, who, despite it being blatantly obvious this guy was cheating, we can't enforce it. As far as a 12 or 13-year-old stealing his dad or mom's credit card to play, obviously that's something that could happen. I mean, you would put some neglect on the parents for letting the kid have the credit card in the first place, but I imagine that's like a life lesson. I'm not going to look at that and go, oh my goodness, this kid just injected heroin into his veins and he's a drug addict. Okay, he played a little poker and screwed his dad over. Maybe his dad will ground him for a while or something like that. I don't. That's not my biggest fear when it comes to online poker. Is the 13-year-old.
Well, and I think in a situation like that, there's going to be a max on the card too. Probably like a $500 buy-in or a $200 buy-in. He's not going to.
Even if there isn't, the kid goes for a ride. That's on the parents. That's between the parents and the kid. Frankly, if I wouldn't even care personally if 2 parents had a 15-year-old who wants to play and they put $100 in and let him play, because I think the idea of having an age limit on whether you can play poker or not is a little bit silly in itself.
I get it. Hey, usually, Daniel, we agree on just about everything. We're going to have to agree to disagree on that one. I just think online poker is a far different situation than live poker. But hey, you would know more than me, and certainly I greatly value your opinion. Let's move on a little bit. I know how big of a hockey fan you are, and such a knowledgeable hockey fan you are. We all love the Vegas Golden Knights, right? How are you dealing with this just from a sports perspective as a season ticket holder? What do you have? You got like a gazillion season tickets to the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, for lack of a better term, this sucks, doesn't it? That we have no NHL, no sports in general.
Well, I mean, it is what it is, right? Now you just have to find some good marble racing to bet on, if you can find it.
Hey, Daniel, I bet on table tennis last night. That's the truth.
I bet you did. Yeah, obviously, it's unfortunate, what's what's going on. So for me, what I've been doing is I've actually been catching up and rewatching the World Junior Championships from last. It happens during the Christmas and New Year's.
Yep.
That's a lot of fun. So I've been watching that, just kind of scouting for the future. But yeah, obviously for a lot of people that don't have other things to fill their time, sports was one of those things for me, obviously. But now I'm, playing a lot more poker than I was before, filling that time. So it's overall, it's been, I've been dealing with it okay. Like, it sucks, as you said, but there's really not much we can do right now other than, wait it out.
Do you think that the NHL season gets canceled, or will there be a finish to the season?
Well, there's obviously a lot of pressure to give the Stanley Cup to somebody. The question is, how and when does that happen? I don't think it happens, in May. So the question is, how late can you go? Do you go August, September, and then start the regular season right on time, or maybe 2 weeks late or something like that? And even then, we just can't know, right? Because we don't know what's going to happen with this virus. In America, we're looking at, this is going to be the new hub of the spread. As a whole, we're handling this far less aggressively than what you saw in South Korea and China, which has been able to curb their infected rate, as well as even Italy, which, went out of hand. I think things here are going to get a hell of a lot worse.
I agree.
We have the president talking in 2 weeks about it would be beautiful to have a bunch of packed churches. I'm like, okay, well, that sounds like a great way to continue to spread it. We face a crisis right now because obviously shutting things down does have an effect on the economy.
Yeah.
And, obviously the president cares more about how he looks in being reelected than whether or not your grandmother gets infected and dies.
Exactly. Daniel, you're such a smart guy, and I need you to help me with this because me and my co-host and a lot of the callers have been fighting with me on the air about this the last couple of days. So I need you to help me on this one, okay? You mentioned it. The president yesterday says, well, we should be back to normal by Easter. It's such a beautiful, nice day. And then we have Dr. Fauci, who's on national television yesterday, who says we shouldn't be giving it a timeline. The virus should be dictating the timeline. I would imagine you agree with me on that. So what would you say to people out there that are listening to the president and not listening to some of the doctors and the experts?
Well, first and foremost, don't take your medical advice from a guy that looks directly into a solar eclipse and thinks that's okay, right?
Yeah.
So, in all seriousness, can we? You really, the best thing that we could do is create a mask right now that covers Trump's mouth and let Dr. Fauci talk. Let the experts speak. Seriously, this would save millions of lives in itself. This is a man who said, we have 15 cases right now. In the next few days, we will be at 0. Okay? Just talking out of his ass, saying he literally is saying whatever he needs to say. And Dr. Fauci, I think he's done an incredible job of dealing with kind of a narcissistic wacko where he isn't insulting Trump. He says things like, Trump believes that we'll have a virus, and that's our hope too. But let's come back to realism. It's going to take about a year. Trump says we're going to have a test immediately for everybody. We're going to have a vaccine, all this kind of stuff. So very, very irresponsible. I mean, think about it. What does Trump, outside of Trump having an uncle that worked in medicine, what does he know about this stuff more so than doctors and scientists? Absolutely nothing.
So to extend on the kind of the political angle, did you get a chance to take a look at the stimulus package that's about to pass?
Yeah, I mean, I've obviously seen, some of the things they're putting forth, and it's funny because, people mocked and laughed to some degree, Andrew Yang's proposal for universal basic income. But what do you know? In a time of crisis, all of a sudden, doesn't that sound like a fantastic idea where everybody's at home and nobody can work? But imagine everybody having a check for $1,000 to get by each and every month.
No, you're right. You're right.
The Federal Reserve has plenty of money still to pump into the economy. So, we should be okay for at least a few months. I don't know if $1,200 is going to cut it. I mean, if this thing does go 3-4 months, it's not going to be enough for people to pay rent and get groceries and do all those things. But, it's nice to see, the rarity, which is a bill being passed between Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah, what a rarity. If you're just joining us, we're speaking with a 6-time World Series of Poker champion, bracelet winner, Daniel Negreanu. Okay, Daniel, so you call Las Vegas your home. You've been a local here for a long time, and you're a big part of this community, no doubt. I want to ask your response of Governor Sisolak. I've defended the governor. I think he acted appropriately in closing down all the casinos and non-essential businesses. I'm with him. And then we have Mayor Carolyn Goodman here in Las Vegas, who is kind of at odds with the governor, saying that these casinos should be open in a week or two. I disagree with her. Can you talk to us your opinion on the local, as a local here, a longtime local, the local response from the governor, the mayor, and everything that's going on, particularly here in Las Vegas?
Okay, so it's as simple as this, right? When I'm asked this question, I say, which person is on the team of the science and the doctors? Okay, what are they recommending, and who's recommending what they're recommending? That's Steve Sisolak. Okay, and Sisolak has taken all the measures that has been recommended by the people that understand this stuff. She's obviously got different pressure, Rich, which is get the doors open, let's get the economy booming, right? But obviously, this isn't a time where we could do that because we're just going to have think about the other problems for the economy. The economy right now is obviously halted. The other problems for the economy would be if we just open the doors again. Vegas, this virus will spread in Vegas like hot fire, right? Especially in casino environments like that. And then all of a sudden, our hospitals are overloaded. There's not enough beds. People are dying. People are sick. I mean, is that the alternative? I think Governor Cuomo said it best when he says, you can't put a price on a human life, right? It's not worth. If the question is the economy or our parents and grandparents dying, well, we have to bite the bullet here and do what's right to save lives first, and then worry about the economy later.
Right. Now, let's go with that for a second, because I was very openly criticizing Glenn Beck, the lieutenant governor of Florida, and we had Britt Hume from Fox News. They're all saying the same sentiment as some of the extreme right are saying, is that I'll risk my life and I'm willing to die for the economy, Daniel. I think that is just absolutely dangerous and ridiculous. What would you say to those out there that are speaking those terms and saying, I'll die for the economy? Older people should basically risk their lives and die for a better economy for our kids and grandkids. What would you say to them?
I would say, listen, our parents and our grandparents are not expendable, okay? It's not how this works, right? It's an absurd notion to assume that, those that are 65 plus just are comfortable with the idea of dying for the good of the economy. That's some BS right there. That's some cockamamie craziness. I mean, it's hard to even address such a silly notion as that, to think that people are willing to just sacrifice themselves and commit suicide for the good of, the Dow Jones. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, there's no question it is. Well, Danny, you have such a huge platform. I certainly want to give you the opportunity to plug your poker website that you certainly are a part of, and in no way, shape, or form am I saying people shouldn't play online poker, because I play actually on the World Series of Poker website. I play myself, not for the stakes that you play for, but it certainly is a fun time, don't get me wrong, to be playing online poker and to get your mind off of things. Poker certainly is a great way of doing that. Give out that information so people know. I know that they can't play in the state of Nevada, but talk to me a little bit about what you're working with here with this website.
Well, I'm very proud to be associated with GG Poker. As you mentioned, unfortunately, we are not licensed in Nevada. They're working on that, but that takes time, as we know. I'm really proud to say what they're doing. They're having a series right now, a high roller series to meet the demand, and they're donating a percentage of the prize pool to an organization in Toronto that's helping to fight against COVID. So at least 100,000 donations, depending on the size of the prize pools, they're donating out of pocket. As I said, unfortunately, Nevada residents, can't take part in that, but hopefully down the road we'll have GG Poker here in Las Vegas.
How much money would somebody have to put up and say, Daniel, I want to come to your house right now and play heads-up poker? How much would that have to be in order for you to do it right now?
Well, first I'd have to know who it is, right?
Right.
And then secondly, as long as I have latex gloves and a mask and a hazmat suit, come on down.
Hey, are you still playing golf? Or are these golf courses still open? I haven't played golf in a while. Are you still able to play?
I'm not sure, but I would imagine, of all the things when it comes to social distancing that seem pretty safe as an activity, golf would probably be on there. I don't imagine that it's considered an essential business, right?
Right,
golf.
right. Yeah.
It's not an essential business in the same way that Little Darlings is.
Did you hear about that? They're doing drive-through lap dances. What do you make of that?
I think that's hilarious, and it's so Vegas. $100 for 10 minutes, and the guy can be in the car doing whatever he pleases. I don't know. God, listen, I'm a liberal. I'm open. Do you, bro?
Exactly.
You go for it.
I like it, Daniel. I love you, man. We always love having you on. You're such a smart guy, and always love your answers to some of these very difficult questions in difficult times we're living in. Daniel, stay safe, my friend. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on as always, and we hope to catch up with you again soon, my man. Thanks so much.
All right, guys. Enjoy the kitchen life.
We will. Thanks, Danny.
Easier said than done.
Right.
Thanks a lot, Danny.
Thanks, Danny. We appreciate your time. That is 6-time World Series of Poker champion, Daniel Negreanu. Honestly, probably one of the smartest people I know. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be back with your phone calls, 702-257-5396. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
This is the story of Julie Guillaume. She's a Leukemia and Lymphoma Society advocate and the mother of a child who battled blood cancer.
Zach was diagnosed with AML, a deadly leukemia, when he was only 5. He died at just 9 years old, really from the treatment that was meant to save him.
Today, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society is pioneering breakthrough treatments for kids with cancer. Visit LLS.org and save a child's life. Furnished by LLS.
I have 2 dogs, Sam and Bailey. Both are golden retrievers. Poor Sam, he was a mess. Always itching. His paws were soaking wet all day from just constant licking. He had bald spots on his back. I just don't like putting shocks and steroids into your dog all the time. DINOVITE.com. Dinovite is nutrition. Probably 2 weeks after he started Dinovite, I started seeing great improvements, and today 99% of his issues are non-existent. It's amazing stuff. Since Bailey has been 12 weeks old, he's been a Dinovite dog, and he has 0 issues today. He won't eat his food without Dinovite. When I get out the Dinovite, my dogs actually salivate, like I'm getting them a treat. They drool over it. Dinovite is the best thing you can do for your dog.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
I get my Dinovite from DINOVITE.com.
Coronavirus has brought significant disruption to daily life here in Las Vegas, and we here at KDON want you to stay safe, but at the same time, we want you to help these local businesses in our communities thrive. At KDON, we've set up Operation Gift Card to help local restaurants, bars, and businesses to offer gift cards on their websites. To find out how to purchase gift cards from these great businesses and more, visit our website at kdwn.com and search Operation Gift Card. Remember, we are all in this together.
Amazing. Patrick is first.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM. KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. It was Daniel Negreanu that just joined us. Really smart guy, great poker player, great guy. We appreciate him coming on, and I promised we would get to some of your calls. We have a lot of people that have been waiting very patiently on hold at 257-5396. Let's go to Patrick. Patrick, you're next up in the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Patrick?
Hey, JD and Brian. How you guys doing today?
Doing well.
Good, man. What's on your mind?
Doing well. I really started listening to you guys when you were on in the evening. Really enjoyed that, so I've been listening for quite some time now.
Thank you, Patrick. We appreciate that.
Yeah, to quote you, Brian, with all due respect now, it's kind of a lie to say that Dr. Fauci and Trump are saying the opposite thing.
No, it's not.
You know,
it's
did you
not,
watch
sir.
The press conference yesterday?
Yes, I did.
You guys you're pulling like a 1-minute clip from I think when it sounds like a CNN reporter is asking him a question.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're just focusing on that one clip of a 45-minute press conference.
Okay, so
yesterday was shorter than normal.
Okay.
It was only 45 minutes.
Okay, sir, I'll say this with all due respect. We're using Donald Trump's own words and Dr. Fauci's own words. We're not misrepresenting their opinions. Donald Trump said it yesterday in the press conference that he's saying that a target date is Easter, and Dr. Fauci is saying something completely different. With all due respect, sir, he's saying it himself, not me. I'm not misrepresenting anything.
Brian, what I'm saying is you're pulling out one clip out of 45 minutes.
So what? That doesn't mean we're wrong.
I bet you if you want to bet instead of ping pong, we can bet that tomorrow, I bet if you go back and pull up a clip, whatever you want, not a 2007 Elantra, I'm not betting that. It's got to be worth more than that.
I don't know. I don't own a 2007 Elantra, sir.
Was it?
You sold it?
I thought it was 04.
Yeah, and he got the year
Yeah,
wrong
it was
too.
04.
Yeah. Sir, here's the thing. We can have. I say, sir. Here's my thoughts.
You
on
haven't
this.
listened
Hold
for
on,
a while, Patrick.
sir. With all due respect, you can do a 5-hour press conference, but if you say something that is not factually accurate and you say something that could be dangerous to the American people, and it only takes 30 seconds out of a 5-hour press conference, saying that it's a long press conference is not an excuse for saying something that is wrong, sir.
Keep in mind, Brian expects perfection.
No, I don't.
Yes, he does.
We're not talking about perfection. That's ridiculous.
Brian, saying that one clip is representative of everything he said in that press conference.
What does that have to do? He has a target date for Easter.
It's kind of like that Gayle King interview about Kobe Bryant. It's kind of the same structure.
When you said he said it's also a lie when he said everything would
It's
be
not a
fine
lie.
and open by Easter.
It's
He
not a
always
lie.
said it in a hopeful way. He said, "I'd like to see," or "It would be great," or something along
That's
those
not the
lines.
way he worded it. We played it earlier in the show, sir. I appreciate the phone call, but again, your
Fine,
excuse
One more thing.
quickly.
Where did you get those clips from?
From the actual press conference. You think we made it up ourselves? You know what? We have a Donald Trump impersonator in my kitchen, and we have a fake CNN reporter here, and we played audio from Is that what you want me to say? Where do you think we got it from?
In all seriousness,
Ridiculous question.
he is very close with Frank Caliendo, and we have asked him to get involved.
We have a fake Donald Trump, sir, in studio. That's how we got the clip. Stein, you're a producer. Will you tell him how we got the clip, please? Go ahead. You're on. Go ahead.
Totally.
Go ahead. You're good,
Totally
Stein.
confused.
Yeah, I am too. Stein, how did we get that clip? Because I know
What's that imply?
It's just ridiculous.
I mean, it was from the press conference. That's it. Well, where did I get it from?
Another ridiculous statement.
We manipulate?
Yeah. What do you think? We manipulated the clip?
Do you think there's any stores open that sell those hats you guys are wearing? Because I want to get one.
I don't know.
See, look at it. You say change the subject.
That's what he does. Anyway, for the record, we don't manipulate clips. We don't manipulate photos like the White House does on Twitter. We don't manipulate audio and video like they did with the Joe Biden stuff. We don't do that here, sir. We play the clip in its entirety, his answer, and then we played Fauci's clip.
Honestly, we don't have the staff to do that.
That's right. We don't. Or the talent. President Trump was asked in that, and we played it in its entirety. The reporter's question was, why did you choose Easter to reopen the country? And he said, because it's a beautiful time. Anyway, we're going to take a break here.
All right, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, Joe Biden has been accused of sexual assault. This is new. We're going to talk about it. We're going to give you the details on it. And is this woman believable or not? Certainly we have to take any accusation seriously, but we'll get your thoughts on that, and we'll discuss it coming up next. 257-5396 is the number. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to the Vegas Take.
Special report coronavirus update. The White House is looking to classify county coronavirus status as high, medium, or low risk. Part of a plan it hopes will lead to reopening parts of the nation. The Fed Chairman Powell telling the Today Show.
People are being asked to close their businesses, to stay home from work, and to not engage in certain kinds of economic activity. And so they're pulling back. At a certain point, we will get the spread of the virus under control, and at that time, confidence will return, businesses will open again, people will come back to work. Dr. Fauci said something like, the virus is going to set the timetable, and that sounds right to me.
Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer is asking for a federal declaration of emergency for her state.
If granted in full, among other things, this will help us provide meals to families who need them. It would help us provide rental assistance and temporary housing to families.
The virus has now killed more than 1,000 in the United States. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Letterman Road Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by H&R Block. Police activity has closed Hollywood Boulevard northbound just south of Cary Avenue. This is ongoing at this time. Take an alternate like Nellis Boulevard to skirt the closure and avoid delays. But also a traffic hazard was reported on Nellis at Lake Mead Boulevard, and that may be debris on the roadway to watch for. No freeway delays to report at this time. There's a lot going on right now, and more than ever, people need their tax refund. H&R Block has many ways to do your taxes as safely as possible. Work with a tax pro remotely, drop off, or file online. Block is always there to help. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
If your retirement plan is on set it and forget it, it's time to take control. Tune in for Financial Safari with America's Wealth Coach and best-selling author, Coach Pete D'Arruda. For more than 25 years, Coach Pete has been helping people just like you plan for retirement. Join Coach Pete every week as he discusses topics like why your retirement plan should also be an income plan and how to make sure you're getting the most out of your 401k.
Financial Safari with Coach Pete, Saturday morning at 10 a.m. and Sunday afternoon at 2 on 101.5 FM, 720 a.m. KDON.
What would you consider a fair fee for a bankruptcy?
How about one low flat fee? Sound fair?
Fair Fee Legal Services can prepare and file your bankruptcy for just $7.99.
Call us at 702-703-3333
or check us out at fairfeelegalservices.com.
Get a fresh start
at a fair fee.
Debt free, carefree, finally free with Fair Fee.
FairFeeLegalServices.com, 702-703-3333.
Due to the current national emergency, AQ Dentures has been forced to close like many others, but they would still like to help patients with any tooth pain. So please call their hotline at 702-565-6000 and follow the instructions on the recording. In pain and don't know what to do? You can still pick up the phone and call AQ. AQ Dentures, 702-565-6000. That's 702-565-6000.
I'm Todd Graves of Raising Cane's. We've always operated with the highest standard food safety, cleanliness, and health. I know how important it is to have a trusted, safe, and clean place to feed you and your loved ones. Raising Cane's is open and here to serve you through our drive-thrus and takeout. One love.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 a.m. KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. I know there are a lot of people waiting on hold, and I know we have a full board of callers. I promise you I will get to you here in just a few minutes. Sit tight, be patient. Also, if you have a local business that you would like to plug, we certainly want to help our locals that are struggling, particularly those business owners that are just not getting the traffic that they normally get, which is understandable. So 702-257-5396. Again, we'll get to your calls here in just a few minutes. This is an important story, and I think it's a story that we need to talk about. And it is a woman back in '94 claiming that Joe Biden sexually assaulted her. Our producer, Jason Stein, has been on this story. Jason, what can you tell us?
All right, well, first of all, I'm just going to say I'm not finding this story really in any mainstream media, for whatever reason. But her name, it's trending right now. Hashtag I believe Tara Reid. That's her name. Tara Reid.
Not the actress.
Not the actress. Tara Reid, Reade. She's accusing Joe Biden of inappropriate sexual behavior. Now, this was back in April of last year. She came out and said he was doing some inappropriate things when she worked at his Senate office back in 1993. But now she's going even further. She just did an interview with a podcaster named Katie Helper. And in her own words, let's play a little bit of this. This is what she's saying happened to her with Joe Biden back in 1993.
Says that she
Called me in and said, I want you to take this to Joe. He wants it. He wants you to bring it. Hurry. And I said, okay. And it was a gym bag. She said, take the gym bag. She called it athletic bag. And, she said he was down towards the Capitol and he'll meet you. And so I went down and I was heading down towards there. And he was at first talking to someone. I could see him at a different distance, and then they went away. And then we were in like the side. It was like the side area. And he just said, hey, come here, Tara. And then I handed him the thing and he greeted me. He remembered my name. And then we were alone, and it was the strangest thing. There was no like exchange really. He just had me up against the wall, and I was wearing like a skirt and business skirt, but I wasn't wearing stockings. It was kind of a hot day that day, and I was wearing heels. And I remember my legs had been hurting from the marble, of the Capitol, like walking. And so I remember that kind of stuff. I remember like I was wearing a blouse, and he just had me up against the wall, and the wall was cold. And I remember it happened all at once. The gym bag, I don't know where it went. I handed it to him, it was gone. And then his hands were on me and underneath my clothes. And
all right, so we get the gist. We get the gist of where she was going with that. Obviously, extremely troubling. A couple questions I would say here. First of all, let me be very clear, and I've been very consistent on this. Any woman who claims that she was sexually assaulted needs to be taken seriously. With that being said, it is always fair to ask questions. My first question is, if this happened back in 1994, why is this the first time we are hearing about it now? If this happened in 1994, why didn't we hear about it when he was running for vice president with Barack Obama? Why is this the first time that we are hearing about this story? Here's question number two. Question number two is, with many, like Bill Cosby, for example, the sexual assaulter, rapist himself, multiple people. Now, does that mean that this did not happen to her? No. But I think it's fair to say, why is this the only person that has come forward? Is it possible that in a lifetime a sexual assaulter could only sexually assault one woman? Yes, that's very possible. But these are fair questions to ask. Why didn't she tell the authorities? Okay. Why are we learning about it right now? Those are fair questions to ask, because while sexual assault is extremely serious, it's just as serious. And I'm not saying she's making it up, but it is just as serious if a woman was to make up a story.
Well, it's kind of the same thing happened to Donald Trump when Karen McDougal came out and said what she said, and among a lot of women came out and said what they said. Like, who was the woman? I can't remember her name. She was the fashion designer from New York
I
City.
don't remember the name, but JD, he's had multiple people.
I'm just, and Joe Biden has been seen smelling women's hair in multiple pictures.
Never been accused of sexual assault
He's had
until
the
now.
name Creepy Joe for a long
Well,
time.
that doesn't mean.
And again, I'm
anything.
not saying that this is true, but it is very coincidental because of the timing of the situation.
Yes.
But also it's very interesting that no mainstream media outlets are picking this up, because if this was Donald Trump, they would be.
I'm willing to.
So that makes me wonder if there might be some validity to this, and the mainstream media just doesn't want anybody to hear about it.
I'm absolutely willing to talk about it. But again, Donald Trump has had multiple accusers that have accused him of rape, multiple accusers with sexual assault. This isn't the first time in Donald Trump's career, by the way. He's had this happen way before he ran for president of the United States. And on audio, he also bragged about sexual assault. I don't recall Joe Biden ever talking locker room talk or that.
And again, I'm not comparing those two situations. I'm just saying the timing is coincidental, just like it was with Trump.
You do have to worry about the timing with Biden. You know, we're in an election season. He's obviously going to get the nomination. JD and Brian, you also have to question the timing on the other side. When Brett Kavanaugh was accused of sexual assault in the middle of his
no question
in the middle of his hearing to become a Supreme Court justice.
Yeah, my problem with Brett Kavanaugh wasn't that story, because I'm not sure she was credible. My problem with Brett Kavanaugh was the life he has lived, as far as the drinking and all the other stuff he did in college. Is this the kind of guy that we want on the Supreme Court? I'm not sure if he's ever committed a sexual assault.
Brett
likes beer.
Brett just likes beer. The guy enjoys beer, and he likes likes getting into a fight and then having 7-foot Chris Dudley fight his battle.
Well, Joe Biden couldn't sniff.
He stands behind.
Joe Biden couldn't sniff my hair because I don't have any. All right,
That's true.
Let's get back to the phone calls. We have some busy phones. Let's get to them. 702-257-5396. Let's start off with Paul. Paul, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Paul?
Hey guys, not much. How you doing today?
Doing
Good.
great.
What's on your mind, man?
I'd like to make comments about two politicians. One is President Trump. The other is Mayor Goodman.
Okay.
For me, President Trump did not set in stone the day that he's going to open up the country. So for me, I call that positive thinking. You know, I would rather he does what he's doing than to say we're all going to die.
Nobody's saying anybody should say we're all going to die. What I'm saying is I want. Right, but I'm saying
Would you rather him have that attitude?
Well, of course not. No, I told you what attitude. No, of course not. Of course not. But let me just go on. But Paul, I didn't say that. What I want is this type of attitude. Right. What I want, Paul. I hear you, Paul. Listen, there's nothing wrong with hope, right? But I think there's a difference. But I do think there's a distinction.
And hope is very necessary right now, considering how different our lives are, Brian.
But there's a distinction, Paul. Paul, there's a distinction between hope and then putting out misinformation. And what Dr. Fauci said yesterday is very different than what Donald Trump said. There needs to be a happy medium there, and that's all I'm saying, Paul.
I agree, but let's we all know this much. Right now, Dr. Fauci rules. He's the one who's going to make the call.
Absolutely.
President Trump can say all he wants. Nobody's going to overrule Mr. Fauci.
But Paul, can I ask you something there?
No, Donald Trump will make the call.
Okay, Paul,
it won't be Dr.
Paul,
Fauci.
Exactly. So, Paul, that was kind of what I was alluding to.
Yeah.
How do we know that, Paul?
Because then Dr. Fauci,
Paul, how do we know that?
Dr. Fauci will go straight to the media and say, these are my recommendations, and anything he does is on him.
All right. I mean, listen, Paul.
And I don't believe he'd do it.
Paul, I think we agree. We don't want false hope put out there, but at the same time, there's nothing wrong with the president saying, listen, I'm very hopeful, but that's just not the language he used, and I think we can all agree the president needs to be responsible with his language. I know we have some busy phone calls, so let's get back to him. Let's go to Tony. Tony, you're next up on the Vegas Take, man. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Tony?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good, man.
Doing great.
What's on your mind?
Hey, I like the show. You guys are funny. Hey, I just want to say, I did know Mr. Trump, he wasn't the smartest guy to get elected. He set back this country $20 trillion in deficit. And I hope when all this finished, all this country he caused economic hardship, where he caused sanction, they should realize that how we feeling today is those countries are feeling just the way how we felt.
No question. Tony, may I ask, where are you from?
I'm from the Caribbean.
You're from the Caribbean. How are your family doing? Do you have family back there? How are they dealing with this?
Well, I have family in New York.
Oh, you have family. Oh, geez. Well, that's a tough place to be living right now.
Yeah, it's kind of rough out there.
Oh, my God. Well, Tony, I appreciate your phone call, my friend. Stay safe, stay healthy. And I agree with everything you said about Donald Trump, by the way. That shouldn't be a shock to anybody. Thank you, Tony.
I'm baffled. I'm so surprised.
702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Stephen. Stephen, you're up next. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Stephen?
Yeah, good afternoon, Billy. I had a quick comeback to the question about why you haven't heard about Joe Biden and maybe accusations, because there isn't a blue dress that shows evidence of the assault. So I didn't want to get hung up in that.
Well, okay. Well, let me go with that sentiment.
Are
first.
you running a bathtub?
Let me. I understood what he said, Stephen. Your phone is a little bit hard to understand, but I think I understand where you're going with. You talked about the Monica Lewinsky dress, and you're saying, well, there's no actual evidence to back it up. And I would agree with you. It's very difficult for her to prove that this actually happened, especially when this is the first time we've heard about it, and we're 2020, and she's saying this allegedly happened in 1994. The reason why, and you might be saying, well, Brian, what about Bill Cosby? Well, you had 40 or 50 women that came forward. This is a very different circumstance, and you can't say the Bill Cosby thing was politics. You could make the argument that this is. Thank you for the call, Stephen.
Yeah, good call, Stephen.
It did sound like you were on an Obama phone there, so we got to go to our next caller. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Janice. Janice, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's up?
Hey, what's up, Janice?
Hi, I'm on the phone again. Crazy Janice. Brian, I don't have a sexy voice like Fernando, but I think you can understand me, right?
Janice, I can understand you just fine, and your voice sounds fantastic. What's on your mind?
I agree with you. I agree with you about a doctor's advice. Absolutely. 100%. I agree with JT too with a lot of things. But my thing is, this is what I don't understand. We've had 222,000, they say, doctors, flu a year. But to me, for all the lockdowns and everything that's going on, we never shut the country down before.
Right.
With this particular virus.
Yeah. Well, Janice.
Many viruses before. Now, just 1 second, Brian.
Okay.
Please.
Go ahead.
The thing is, there's more to this than meets the eye. That's my opinion. I believe something's going to be happening sooner, and I also believe that Trump knows about it. So I'm just saying.
All right. Well, listen, Janice, hang on the line. Hang on the line, Janice. You're not the first person to think that. Okay.
Yeah, and I can appreciate the conspiracy theorist perspective.
There are other people like you, Janice, that think there is more to this virus than meets the eye. But let me respond to that.
You know, I will say this, just that I've never mentioned this one time, but one thing I noticed is that I think that if this virus, if the high risk targeted group for this virus was, we'll say 15 to 40, and not those with underlying health conditions and those, we'll call it 65 and above. If you really look at it, the majority of politicians in this country are in that age group, and the majority of wealthy people are in that age group. This virus affects those who have the most power in the United States. I think that has something to do with what's going on right
now. Janice, let me just quickly respond to what you said about this virus, and we've had other viruses in the past. Make no mistake about it, this virus is very different, and in this aspect, there are a lot of unanswered questions. You have unanswered questions. I have unanswered questions.
Right.
The problem is we don't have a vaccine for this virus, and like JD said, this is something like we've never seen before. So I would hope that you would understand the seriousness of that, right?
No, I believe it's serious, but I will tell you, Brian, I believe in my heart, I could be wrong, and probably I'll talk about it again if it does happen. But I believe it's much more than this. I believe, in my opinion, we have a lot of evil, both sides of the aisle. A lot of evil people did a lot of evil things in the government, and I think that's going to come out. And I think,
well, it's possible. It's possible, Janice, but let me say this. I do find this suspicious that the doctors in China, 2 doctors that actually discovered this virus and were trying to cure it, are the ones that are dead now, one of which is in his 30s. I find that very, very suspicious.
He was a whistleblower, the one that's dead now. But yeah, the way that China handled this entire thing, they knew within the first week, because the patient 0 who worked in that Wuhan market, his wife got the same thing that he did, but she was not anywhere near that market.
Well, I'll tell you what.
The fact that took place proves human-to-human transmission, and it took them a month and a half to finally say, oh, yeah, by the way, that's the case.
Well, the president likes to talk tough on China. Well, we'll see what the repercussions are. We'll see if he puts the hammer down. Let's get back to our busy phone calls. 702-257-5396. Jason, what's so funny? Our producer keeps laughing when I say that. Let's go to Jay. Jay, you're next up on the Vegas take.
Hey, what's up, Jay?
Good morning, gentlemen, and thank you for taking my call. And by the
Sure.
way, your coordinator does an excellent job.
Well, Sean would appreciate that. Thank you.
Good work, Sean.
Sure. What I'd like to do is ask JD a question, and then if you'll give me a minute, I'd also like to make a comment on Brian's Wayne Allen Root interview. But as far as a question for JD, I'll list two goals of the president. I'm sure you'd agree these are both goals that he's trying to achieve. And then I'm going to ask you to prioritize them. Which is the greater priority? The first one being minimizing the number of Americans who will suffer harsh effects from the virus. And the second is getting reelected.
I don't think getting reelected is as large of a priority because he doesn't. I don't think he has to worry about that. I think 1 million Americans could die of this virus, and he wouldn't have to worry about being reelected. But I would say that it's probably 40-40-30 when it comes to saving lives. Or sorry, 40-40-20 when it comes to saving lives, economy, and keeping country morale. I don't think reelection is a huge concern for Trump right now because he has such a huge lead. And honestly, the country is supporting the way that he's handling this.
Okay, go ahead now.
I respect and admire your answer. I disagree, however.
That's fine.
And as far as Brian, I just want to say that for those Americans that are awake enough to understand that we are witnessing a protracted, nightmarish debasing of the democratic institutions in this country, then we have to acknowledge people like yourself that have the ability and take it upon themselves to remind people to stay awake. And that's what you did on your interview with Wayne Allen Root.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, sir. And I want to mention this again because we didn't mention that today, but he was fired from the Review Journal an hour after our interview, and he also received a cease and desist letter from the Attorney General of New York. So, sir, I do appreciate you, and I appreciate those kind words. Trust me when I say it means a lot when I hear from people like you. So thank you for the call.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jay.
It does mean a lot. 702-257-5396. By the way, if you want to hear that Wayne Allen Root interview, it's up on our Twitter page. It's up on our SoundCloud page. It's up on our YouTube page. It's on our website, thevegastake.com. So it was an interesting one, that is for sure.
Is there video of it too, JD? People can, if they subscribe to our YouTube channel, they can get the video, right?
Yeah, we just have to go to the specific date. I don't remember the exact date, but if you go to our YouTube channel, which is the Vegas Take, just click on subscribe, and then so every single show is live streamed, and you have a video of us, and so you can actually watch.
And
Brian.
It was Friday the 20th.
Friday, so when you subscribe, go to our page, go to videos, click down to scroll down to the 20th of March, and then click on the live stream. It'll say stream.
Brian in a bathrobe.
Yeah, right.
Calling Wayne Allen Root a scumbag, and Wayne Allen Root calling him a putz.
Calling him a putz, and then also just completely dismantling himself and becoming unhinged on air, which I was, again, this guy is a professional. He's a nationally syndicated radio host, and Brian, you just handed him his lunch.
Well, for the record, I also went on his Twitter page because he's still, saying ridiculous things, and I said, Mr. Root, who's the putz now? You just received a cease and desist letter from the Attorney General. You just got fired from your job at the Review Journal. Who's the putz now, Wayne?
I am not surprised that you did that.
702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Ron. Ron, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Ron?
Good morning, gentlemen. Let me give you a quick history lesson. Back in the 1300s, we had the bubonic plague. It completely changed Europe and England because all the kings and queens, a lot of them got it, and they died. And their whole estates died. And there were people come along later on and found these places empty. Well, okay, now, the lady that spoke before had a good idea about the rich people and the older people getting this plague and dying, because you got to it's not a virus, it's a plague. You catch it.
Ron, how is it we agree today?
Well, the lady was 100% right. So the older folks who have the money, who are retired, and the older folks that are rich, that have the money, okay, where are they going to go? The only place you can go is the moon anymore.
Ron, can I just say this?
So the earth.
Ron, have you been to the moon before?
Pardon, sir?
Have you been to the moon? Have you spent time on the moon?
No, I've been to the dark side of the moon, but I haven't on the
Ron,
on the
Ron, can I just say this? I know you hate me, Ron, but I love you. I just want to say that. Okay?
No, I don't hate you, buddy. You have your opinion. I have my opinion.
Well, Ron, you see, Ron, how we can get along so well, sir. I wish you well, my friend. Stay healthy, and I appreciate the phone call. That was just such a nice call.
Hey,
with
thanks for the call, Ron.
702-257-5396. I mean that, by the way. I do like Ron. He's one of my favorite callers.
I
by the way.
actually think that he might have been to the moon. Him and Wayne together have spent time on the moon.
It's possible. 702. I'll tell you what. I'd rather have a beer with Ron than Wayne any day of the week.
I think it's possible that Ron is actually Wayne's father.
257-5396. Let's go to Lance. Oh, don't disrespect Ron like that. Let's go to Lance. Lance, you're next up on the Vegas take. What's going on?
Wayne the caller, not Wayne en route.
I know.
Okay, Lance.
Oh, you knocked out moon. You broke my heart. Well, anyway, that's a Sinatra thing. But
Regrets.
And you nailed it. But the president is an expert. He takes both sides.
An expert on what?
There's a balance here.
Hold on.
No,
that statement, the word is significant factor is balance. The balance of physical, healthy, and
What is the president an expert on?
Right, right.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. You just said the president's an expert. He's an expert in what?
He's an expert on putting the information together.
Do you have to get a degree for that, or how can you become an expert in that?
I would say he's very good at organizing a message so that it does what it is intended to do.
So let's go.
That message was intended to say, yes, this is a problem.
Hold on.
Right.
He said it's a balance.
All right, so let's go with that. Hold on a second, Lance. I get it, Lance. Let's go with that. Let's go with your statement that he's an expert. Let's go with that for a second. So was he an expert a month ago when he said we have 15 cases and it's going to go down to 0? Was he an expert when he was sitting next to Diamond and Silk? No, don't come on me. Answer the question.
In the trick bag.
No, it's not a trick. It's a simple question.
Trick bag.
No. Hold on a second.
That's a good one.
Hold on a second.
I'm stealing that, Lance.
Lance, this is very important. You just said he's an expert. I'm asking you a very specific question. A month ago.
Keep repeating that.
Answer the question, and I won't have to repeat it. Was he an expert when he said we had 15 cases and it was going to go down to close to 0? That's what he said. Was he an expert when he said that? Was he good?
Mr. B.S. Brian.
Right. You can't answer the question. Don't BS me. I'm going on to the next caller. I'm going on to the next
I
caller.
did not know that Trump sounded like Dr. Evil.
Yeah, well, you know what? You notice how when you ask them a question, all of a sudden he's not an expert, and he just says, oh, come on, Brian. All right, let's take our next caller, 702-257-5396. Let's go to Chuck. Chuck, you're next on the Vegas take.
Hey, what's up, Chuck?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Doing okay.
Hey, I wanted to find out what your expert guest host, Michael Avenatti, would comment about this. What would be his expertise opinion on this?
Michael Avenatti is not an expert because he's not a doctor, sir. With all due respect to Michael Avenatti.
Avenatti would definitely.
You better ask him.
He would side with Fauci.
Hold on a second, Chuck, hold on a second.
He would side with Fauci.
Chuck, are you trying to be a smartass? When have I said Michael Avenatti was an expert like a doctor? Are you trying to be a smartass?
Well, you praise him. You go play.
When have I praised Mike? Excuse me, sir. Me. So you're correlating me. Excuse me. It's my turn now. You're correlating me playing blackjack with Michael Avenatti to me calling him an expert when it comes to the coronavirus. Do you realize what a fool you sound like?
Yeah, that's your buddy.
Yeah, that's your buddy. Let me tell you something. I'll tell you somebody who's not my buddy. You moron. Next caller. Bye-bye. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Mark. Mark, you're next on the Vegas take. What's going on?
Good morning.
Good morning, Mark. What's on your mind?
So anyway, Dr. Fauci was on a radio show the other morning. It's called Mornings on the Mall. I'm not sure who the host was, but he was asked about, how the media, some of the media, always wants to pit what he says against what President Trump says. I'm going to quote Dr. Fauci right here. Quote, "That is really unfortunate. I would wish that would stop because we have a much bigger problem here than trying to point out differences. They're really fundamentally at the core when you look at things. They are not differences." He continued, "The president has listened to what I've said and to the other people who were on the task force have said.
Okay.
When I've made recommendations, he has taken them. He has never countered or overwritten me. The idea of just pitting one against the other is not helpful. I wish that would stop and that we
Well, sure. Absolutely. Dr. Fauci has showed leadership, and he's not trying to make this political, and I understand his concerns there, and I totally get that.
I'm looking at the quote. I don't know if this is the quote that you guys played earlier, but this is a quote from Politico. Trump, quote, I'd love to have it open by Easter, okay? I would love to have it open by Easter. I will tell you that right now. It's such an important day for other reasons, but I'll make it an important day for this too.
And then he also said that he wanted. I'm sorry. I apologize, sir. I can't. I'm up against a hard break in here, and we got to end the show. I appreciate the call, but you're also missing. He also said he wanted churches to be full as well. Dr. Fauci is showing leadership. Dr. Fauci is not trying to make this political. Dr. Fauci is trying to stay out of the weeds, and he is trying to say the right things, and I believe he is, as I believe, for the most part, the vice president is as well. So I'm not sure what your point is there.
And Brian, no, that caller is right. There is no evidence of a feud between Dr. Fauci and Trump. What we're simply doing is playing what Trump said and what Fauci said. And the fact of the matter is, they are often at odds. We never said they're actually fighting.
But also don't forget this: the media would love a feud between, especially the left-wing media, would love a feud between Trump and Fauci, and they have made every effort to manufacture one.
Fauci's big thing is that Trump's line is that he's misleading. He has said that.
Yeah, and Stein made a very valid point there. We're just playing their own words. So obviously when you just play their words, you can see that they're not seeing eye to eye on some of the very, very important issues when it comes to this virus. All right, folks, we're going to take a 21-hour break. Actually, what I want to do tomorrow, since tomorrow is Friday, I want to give more people an opportunity to plug their businesses. We really didn't get a chance to do that today, but we'll absolutely take more of your calls. It's why we do this, folks. We're doing this for you, and we appreciate it. Thank you so much. Sean Hannity coming up next, folks. Have a great day.
This is the story of Julie Guillot. She's a Leukemia and Lymphoma Society advocate and the mother of a child who battled blood cancer.
Zach was diagnosed with AML, a deadly leukemia, when he was only 5. He died at just 9 years old, really from the treatment that was meant to save him.
Today, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society is pioneering breakthrough treatments for kids with cancer. Visit LLS.org and save a child's life. Furnished by LLS.
Your home for Sean Hannity. KDWN Las Vegas, KKLZ HD2 Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station.
Special report coronavirus update. The White House is looking to track the coronavirus from county to county in an effort to determine if there are parts of the country that can reopen. But White House correspondent Caitlin Collins reports governors suggest that decision is theirs to make.
A lot of governors say, they hope the president is right that the country is able to reopen within just a matter of weeks and people can start returning to normal life. But they say they are going to be making those decisions for their own citizens in their states as they are moving forward.
Acting Navy Secretary Thomas Modley says the aircraft carrier Theodore Roosevelt has a virus outbreak.
So the ship is pulling into Guam. It will be pierside. No one on the crew will be allowed to leave anywhere into Guam other than on pierside. And we are already starting the process of testing 100% of the crew to ensure that we've got that contained.
The Indianapolis 500 race has now been postponed. They hope to run it in August. I'm Mike Moss. Many people are giving what they can to help those in greater need. Correspondent Clayton Neville tells us what one former president is doing.
Former President Jimmy Carter asking donors to forego their next gift to the Carter Center. Instead, he's encouraging donations to organizations that are helping Americans struggling with the effects of coronavirus and the restrictions it's brought to the U.S. Carter called the illness a global threat to our physical and economic health. He said he's inspired by volunteers and community groups that have mobilized to help people in need.
As Louisiana sees its coronavirus cases climb and state health experts are monitoring the clusters at 6 nursing homes, New Orleans is facing critical shortages of ventilators and protective equipment. Global job losses from the coronavirus now 25 million, more than 3.3 million Americans among them. On Wall Street, the Dow is up more than 4%, 990 points, S&P up about 4%. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Lerner Road Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by ExpressPros.com.
Police activity has closed Hollywood Boulevard northbound just south of Cary Avenue. This is still active. Avoid the area. Take an alternate like Nellis Boulevard to skirt the closure. Also a crash reported on westbound Charleston at the 95. It's an injury crash, so emergency crews, police, and fire will be on the scene. Expect slowing. Take another route to avoid those delays. And also police activity reported Bonanza at Maine. That is for motorist assist, maybe a stalled vehicle. Losing sleep over a stressful job or a bad boss? It's time to get to know Express Employment Professionals. Connect on the Express Jobs app or expresspros.com. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
Get the rest you deserve with Helix Sleep. Helix makes personalized mattresses to fit your unique body type and sleep preferences and give you the best sleep of your life. Go to helixsleep.com and get up to $200 off mattress orders.
If you're one of the millions of Americans who owes back taxes, if you get nervous when the mail comes because you might get a letter from the IRS, then you've heard. Their enforcement agents are cracking down this year and can garnish your paycheck, levy